Welcome to the Bound to be Rich podcast, where I attempt to reverse engineer people who seem to be successful no matter the circumstances so that you can apply those lessons to your own life. I'm your host, Ismail Humet. In this episode, we are joined by Josh Pather, founder and CEO of Photo Booth International. Josh immigrated to the United States with nothing but 2 suitcases, literally. We talk about his journey and all the ventures along the way that led him to where he is today, including when he got sued by Nike as a teenager. He's used the skills he picked up in each business he started to get to the next level on his next idea. He's now a master of digital marketing and online lead generation. He was recently awarded the coveted 2 Comma Award from ClickFunnels twice. This means he generated over $1 million in revenue through a single online marketing funnel, and he did that 2 times. So how does someone starting in a whole new country, literally from zero, grow a multi-million-dollar business? Let's dive in. Josh, thanks so much for coming on the show. Happy to have you here.
Hey man, I'm glad we were able to do it.
Yeah, we've been connecting a lot more over the last couple of years, thankfully. For people who don't know, you were a speaker at the PBNY conference that I set up, and so like a little bit. Not, this isn't meant to like downplay you, but I was a little bit surprised by how like popular, like people went crazy for you. I guess because I know you and I know what you do, but people were really digging. And I was thinking about afterwards, like why. And I'll give you my thoughts, but I'm curious to hear why you think people really were drawn to you after the presentation.
I'm an underdog, like I was watching Undercover Billionaire season 1, and they talk about like underdog barbecue, and like I just share my story. There's nothing fake about it. I keep it real, and just show people my struggles. I'm not perfect. I show people my report card all the time. Because I think a lot of times people think that, when they see successful people, they had some kind of advantage. And even I was under that influence, in the beginning as well. Or they have a certain skin color, or they went to a certain college, or they had contacts, or their parents had contacts, or they, had a trust fund or something like that. So I think a lot of people just, I'm relatable to a lot of people. And they can see like, man, this guy Josh can do it. I can do it, and I want to be that example. Because I needed that whenever I first moved here to America,
Yeah, I think from what I thought about it, I remember just watching it and like seeing all the comments. I actually rewatched the presentation last night to kind of get ready for this.
Yeah.
And I remember like all the comments coming in, like people were like, yo, this guy's the man. Keep him talking, keep going. And I thought about afterwards, why? And I think I kind of zeroed in on a few things. One, and I've told you this before, there's like these little online communities of like photo booth owners.
Mm-hmm.
You're not terribly active in them.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like new blood. So people are like, yo, who is this guy? He's amazing. I haven't seen him before. That kind of gets their attention.
Yeah.
Number 2, you had, like you mentioned right now, the relatability, right? People really relate to you. And you, even in the start of the presentation, you made a point of that. You're like, hey, I'm nothing special. If I can do it, you can too. And I think that, of course, really motivates people. And third, you just had a great presentation. And we were kind of talking about this before we hit record. You clearly put effort into that presentation. You spoke at another conference too.
Mm-hmm.
The content is great. The delivery is great. I don't know if you rehearse it or how much work you put into it, but it's a lot better than what everyone else kind of throws together or just kind of wings,
Yeah. Most of the time, and it's funny you brought up that point, because I always look back and look and see, like, from our customers who buy photo booths from us, like, what's the difference between the success and failure, right? Because me and you, we can go on Google and we know people are searching for photo booth rentals, right? So we know that, the numbers don't lie, but it's the effort that they put in. Like, did they pick up the phone to call Google to get set up with ads? Did they take the effort to learn the software? And I boiled it down. I was like, it's always an effort problem, And when people come and buy from us, I tell them, look, we're going to give you all the training. If you put the effort into it, you have a good chance of being successful. So I try to live what I preach and make sure, but it's always an effort thing all the time.
So I'll try to come back to that later.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get too deep into the weeds on effort and stuff, let's get started. Like I think you started the presentation with moving to America, but I'd like to hear more about that story because I know a lot of people around me in my community all were immigrants or children of immigrants,
Hmm.
and I find that those people, for whatever reason, maybe this is controversial, but they work a lot harder.
Hmm.
So I'd love to hear the story of like you coming to America, why you guys came to America,
Yeah.
how that was, that whole kind of thing.
Yeah, it was it's a traumatic experience. I mean, looking back now, obviously it's for the good, the better, if you will. But yeah, so I was probably about 10 or 11. Now my aunt and my uncle were living over here, my mom's sister. So she was a nurse and she actually left South Africa many, many years ago and ended up in Texas. And so she actually sponsored my family, my mom, my dad, me, and my sister, to come to the U.S. So we started the application in I think 1990, and by 2000 was when like I guess everything finally got approved. So it was like 10-year process. Um, and then 2001 is when we decided like, hey, we're gonna move. So like we discussed it and all that stuff, and then we like had to sell everything we owned, right? Because we could only bring like 2 bags each coming here. So we sold our house. People will come into our house and buy like furniture. They'll buy like our cutlery. They'll buy our TVs, radios, paintings on the wall. I remember we just had like a for sale sign. People just come in and buy whatever they want. There was no Craigslist or anything like that. So I had to sell like all my toys. That was really painful. We had to get set up at like a local flea market and like just sell all my toys, And like as an 11-year-old child, man, that was real tough. I remember like the hardest ones were like my Lego and my marbles. Like I used to love them so much. And I had to like, I had like the best Lego sets, like the real unique stuff, that you don't really find, out in the public, I guess. I had to sell that and, yeah, just get rid of everything. And so the rest of the stuff that we could bring, pack it up into 2 suitcases. And then right around that time, so we actually came to America a week after 9/11. So we were all gearing up to make this massive move, and leave our families and come, start a whole new life in another country. And then 9/11 happens. And from what I heard, like my dad's mother told him like, "Hey, you shouldn't be going. Like it's a scary time. And my dad like still, just moved forward with it. And so yeah, we ended up leaving. Went to the airport. Everybody's crying. It was just a horrible scene. Like you just never know who you're gonna see again, if you're gonna see people again. And yeah, we just got on the plane. We went from Durban to Johannesburg. That was a short flight. And then from Johannesburg to London, that was a 12-hour flight in economy. And I just remember being so uncomfortable and just like, it was hard to sleep. The food was nasty. And it was just being so uncomfortable and miserable. And then like when you get to London, you still got another 12-hour flight to Dallas. And so like, it's just another same thing again. And so I always kind of look back on that. And I told myself, I was like, man, once I make it big, I'm never going to like travel economy again. Like it's just, I don't want to go through that whole experience. So yeah, we came to America and that was, I had to learn everything. Going to school here, like everything was different, just the way people communicated, the school systems, like it was a big, big, big change, coming from, South Africa to here. So yeah, I started off in middle school. It took me about, like a year or two to kind of, make friends and meet people and stuff like that. And then by high school, I was pretty, I understand the lay of the land. So I was like, okay, where's the opportunity at? So,
Were you excited? Like, did you say your family talked about it? Were you all looking forward to coming, or were you upset about it?
um, I was too young to process that. It was just more like, oh, it's something new. You know what I mean? But I didn't realize how painful it would be. Like when you're standing at the airport and like you have your entire family there, everybody's like crying, bawling tears, and you just then it's like then it kind of hits you and it's like, man, I may never see this person again. And some of them I haven't seen in 25 years. You know, Like you spend the first 10 years of your life growing up together, picnics, going to the beach, going to the park. These are your cousins, your family, right? And then you don't see them again. So
Yeah, I like to talk about this stuff because, like I said, I've seen that scene. I've been around that scene. I've been part of some of those scenes. But I find a lot of people that just live in America never leave the country. Like I know people that never leave like the tri-state area in New York, New Jersey. Like that's all they know.
right.
It's hard to comprehend just packing up like and going to a whole different country, different culture with nothing, starting from scratch. Why'd your family do that? Like, did
Yeah.
you know the language before you came here, or it was really?
No, we spoke English there. It's what is it? English colony or whatever. Colonized by the British, if you will. Yeah, I mean, my dad, he was a banker. He was in banking in South Africa, and he did very well for himself back home, and he saw like things were getting bad, just based on what he went through growing up and where he saw the country was going. Because there's always like well, not civil war, but the war between the local people, and then you have Indian people there, which is we ended up there because of the British. And the South African native people, they're upset at the British for taking over, and obviously there's always that conflict and stuff like that. And so he just wanted a better life for us, and this was the way out. So him and my mom, like a year or two after I was born, this would have been like I'd say 91 maybe. They took a trip to America, so they came here to visit, and I guess they saw, look at the lifestyle here, and things are so different, and it's safer. There's so much opportunity, and so when they came after that first trip in like 91, they came back, and that's when they started the process for us to move over here.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like I said, I've been thinking about moving to a different state.
Hmm.
Talking to my wife about, oh my God, is it worth it? What's the risk? And I'm like, man, these our parents and like all these other immigrants just moved to a whole different country
Yeah.
without a second thought. Like they bring their families. Uh, I think it's because of the allure of a better life, right? That's really what it boils down to. Right? It's a shot at a better life for your family, and people take that shot all the time. All right, so you mentioned, all right, you came here with nothing. What'd you have in your suitcases, by the way? Just clothes?
Yeah, I think clothes, just a little bit of toys, and I don't know. I can't remember. I always try to think back. Like we don't have any pictures. It was like old suitcases. I remember like having to drag these things, like help my mom, my dad, because there was 8 suitcases because there was 4 of us, right? So we each had 2. So I had to carry my 2, and then like I had to help, my dad and my mom.
Yo, you know what's crazy? Like, if I was an entrepreneur back then, I would have invented the wheels for luggage. Like, how did they not have wheels back then, bro?
Horrible, man. The one like the handle broke on one of them. I know that for sure. Like I just remember the handle broke, and it was so annoying. It was this gray suitcase. It was like a cotton gray suitcase, and it was so heavy. It was the heaviest one out of all 8.
That's what I wonder. Something like the first time I got one of those luggage that you roll, I was like, wow, this is like a lesson in entrepreneurship. It's such a simple idea. And I'm like, how come all these years we've been lugging 50-pound bags and nobody thought to put wheels on them? So simple.
Yeah, to like lug it through like Paddington Station, I think, one of those too, because we had to go from London to Heathrow.
Mm.
One of the connecting flights. And man, trying to get those suitcases to in the terminal, buy the tickets. I just remember like, it was like a struggle, but we were on a mission, and we got the job done. And I think that's, seeing my dad go through, that kind of stuff, that kind of installed, that kind of mindset in me, you know.
You said by the time you were in high school, you got the lay of the land. Like,
Hmm.
what was, all right, so you came here with nothing. You didn't know anything.
Yeah.
A couple of years go by, you're in high school. Now, what does things look like for you?
Yeah, I understand the culture. I understand how things work, how to generate money. Made friends. Finally like feel part of society instead of like, the term FOB.
I'm fresh off the boat.
Yeah, fresh off the boat. Yeah, so no more fresh off the boat. I'm part of. You find a set of people that you hang out with, and you're you're no longer the FOB person. So learning the style, high school, you gotta like dress good. You fit in. You know what I mean? That's what we're trying to do. And so dialed in all that by 9.
Yeah, I seen some old pictures, bro, of back in the day. We all had the similar style with the baggy clothes and everything.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then finding where to buy the baggy clothes, what brands to buy. I remember one time I bought like Fat Farm was real popular, like ninth grade, right? And I went to the shoe store and I was like, man, why is this so cheap? Because this it was like half the price of regular Fat Farms. And so I bought them. I was like, oh man, I got a good deal on this. Wore them to school, and I realized that the P was backwards. So I got teased the whole day. And I was like, oh my God, that was just the worst. So I went that same night. I forced my mom to take me to the store and I bought some real ones. And I think that's where I got my shoe fetish from.
You mentioned, all right. So speaking of shoes, you mentioned learning how to make money where the opportunities were.
Uh-huh.
What were you doing back then? Like, give me. I know one story with Nike. I don't
Mhm.
know when that comes in, but like, give me an idea of how you started trying to make money early on.
Yeah, so I was like always into computers. So, I would just be looking online for like ways to make money. And there was a lot of, I don't know how, I guess YouTube maybe, or I would just end up on these like forum websites, like Warrior Forum and stuff like that. And looking for ways to make money, and there was always a new product or a launch happening, like, hey, learn how to make money doing this and make money doing that, like uh, put money in the envelope and send it to 10 people. Like I was getting caught up in all that stuff, because I didn't really know how to decipher like what's actually real, but I just knew there was like ways to make money online. I was just at the bottom of that, and then ended up so I was mowing lawns as well. So I would be mowing lawns. That would be one of my things to make money. I would cut the lawns in the neighborhood, then try to look for ways to make money online. I stumbled upon, like at the time, grills were real popular. The ones that, Nelly and Paul Wall.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. So I was always looking into that. And so I ended up finding a website that said, hey, you can sell these grills for us and be a distributor. So I was like, oh man, this seems like a good opportunity. So I applied and they approved me, and they were out of Atlanta. So they sent me like, like a starter kit uh, and a price list and everything like that. So I would take all the stuff and I would set up at a barbershop, that I used to go to in Garland, Texas. And he rented me a spot, I think for like $100 a month. And I would sit in there all day. This was before I had a car or anything like that. So I would get a ride by a friend and I'd sit in the barbershop and I would, like any people coming for a haircut, I would go up to them like, hey, have you thought about getting a grill? I'd have like a booklet printed out for them. They can look and try to sell them like that. So I spent all day in there, all summer long. And then one day, this guy came in with a black trash bag, and he had Jordans and Nikes in there, and everybody got up. And so I'm like, man, this guy's product is like hotter than mine. And so that's kind of what led me down, that path. I was like, I'm selling the wrong thing here. So that kind of led me to like, okay, well, I saw the reaction that everybody got for that. Let me go look and see if I can find this online, or where did he get it from? So
That's
that.
so many super interesting things there. Like, for example, why, like, what about you? Like, not many kids do that. Like, they go to a barbershop, sit there all day and start selling grills, like going up to people and pitching and selling.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you have that in you? Where does that come from?
I don't know. I don't know whether it came from like me having to like sell all my stuff at the flea market when we moved over here. I just always liked selling stuff. Like, yeah, it was in me. I never knew where it came from. Like when I was small, also like my dad, he was a banker, so a lot of his friends were business owners. They would, we would go visit their businesses and go to their houses. They would have nice houses, and see like just witness business being done all the time. Uh, one of my dad's banks, he was at a mall, and so I would go to work with him like on a Saturday, and then I would walk around the mall, and like some area of the mall, they're more like negotiations, like the little carts in the mall. So I just been around, I guess, negotiations along, or transactions, if you will.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I didn't tell you this, but the story behind the name Bound to Be Rich of this podcast is most people that make it usually have stories like that where they do things that were not normal
Mhm.
growing up. Like what you did in that barbershop,
Yeah.
I love that, but that's not normal.
Yeah.
Uh, I've got similar stories too. Like when I was a kid, I used to set up like a store and sell all my old toys to all the other kids on my block, like
Mm,
some random stuff like that.
yeah.
Like those are things that are not normal and are signs of people that are bound to be rich, or bound to be successful.
Right.
So okay, so you have that in you for whatever reason. I don't know if we could ever answer that. Like, why is that in us? But for whatever reason, it's in us.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you saw people get excited about shoes,
Hmm.
right? So then, how did you capitalize on that? What'd you do with that?
Yeah. One comment I do want to make. So the owner of the barbershop, like he was one of the first persons to believe in me. Like, um, because I went to that barbershop to get my hair cut, right, all the time. And so I developed a relationship with him. And then, when I found this business idea, I went up there and I talked to him. I was like, hey, this is my idea. This is what I want to do. And then he was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll give you a shot, and sometimes you just need someone to believe in you like that. And
Why do you believe in you?
I guess he saw something. Maybe he saw something, like he saw himself in me, like as a young someone that just wants to make it.
Hmm.
And he would always tell me, I got the nickname Grilly. He called me Grilly, because I was selling grills. So it was like Grilly. And then every day he'd say, Grilly, one day you're gonna own half of downtown. I always remember that. He
That
always
yeah,
said that
that
to me.
that's awesome. Like that right there, that positivity,
Mhm.
that encouragement. You can't put a price on that. That you need people around like that.
You do. And it just came like, I mean, it was my barber, he cut my hair and now he's the one kind of, dropping into me. And yeah, it's funny because like I ran into him like 3 months ago, and we took a picture. I was like, man, you don't know what you did for me, like just that you just need someone to believe in you. So yeah, the Nike stuff. So yeah, the guy comes in, everybody just goes ballistic, and I'm just hating on him. And I'm like, I've been up here all day trying to sell one thing, and then this guy just comes in. So yeah, get online. All right, ended up on Alibaba, I think, for the first time. This was like probably 2006. Um, Started like, oh man, this is where everything is coming from, right, in China. So I was like, okay. Sent off a couple of emails, then hit it off with this one guy. Shout out to John Lamb. His name was John Lamb. So me and John, we would spend hours just chatting on Yahoo. I think it was Yahoo Chat or Yahoo Messenger. And he was in China in Shenzhen. And, he would be showing me like the new Nikes and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, let's place a small order. Let's see how it goes. So I started off, just like $100 order, got like 3 or 4 pairs of shoes, size 10, the most popular size. Got them in, took pictures. I had my website, 2007. The website was called comegetfresh.com. And I built the website on Yahoo sites. So that was one of the first websites I ever built, and how I actually learned how to start building websites. So I had that going. And then he would give me all the pictures of his whole catalog to put on the website. So I had that, put all the information, had my phone number, had everything. I even had the website on the trunk of my car. So I went to like Fast Signs. I was like, hey, give me this. I need this website in vinyl, you know, um, just to put on my car. So I would be advertising for my website on my car in high school. So had that. And then I would go to class every day and I had a catalog. So before class started, I passed the catalog around and people will like look at the catalog, look at the shoes. And if they like something, I tell them, hey, give me a $20 deposit. I'll place the order for you. I'll order them. And then when they come in, you can give me the rest of the money, which was $80. I would just sell them for $100 a pair. And so, I would take orders every day. So I would have, I have cash, then come home at night, tell, John what order I needed to get, what pairs. Then we'll come up with a price, negotiate the price. Then he'll give me the total. Then the next day I take all the cash. And sometimes it would be, $1,000, 800, 500, that kind of stuff. I go up to Albertsons, go to the customer service. That's where the Western Union was, like 2007, 2008, walking up there. So I fill out the form to get the money tracking control number, wiring, $1,000 to John Lamb in Shenzhen. And then we'd come back, give him the code, and we do the transaction like that.
How'd you know as a young kid, like with all that money, how'd you know you wouldn't be scammed?
I got scammed once or twice. So the way not to get scammed is like you'll do a small order first, like just one pair of shoes. Like, hey, you just want a sample, and then if they stop responding or whatever. But I would look at their website and I would chat with them. I would stay up late at night because that's the time difference, and I just talk with them. And ask them about who they are, how long they've been working there, about their family. Pictures. Like we became friends. We became friends, like real good friends, and it got to a point where he was actually sending me shoes before I paid them, and like every week the orders were getting bigger and bigger, and so I would actually have to ship the orders. So the way to get around customs is you change the zip code so it routes through New York, because the New York customs are like, I guess, a little bit less strict than the California customs. I remember one time I had a big order of like $400. It was like 30 pairs of shoes, and it came through DHL and it went through California because I didn't change the zip code. And the lady called me. She's like, "What are you gonna do with all these shoes?" I was like, "Oh, it's for me. I ordered for me and my friends." She's like, "Well, do you have a license to import this?" I was like, "No, I don't." She's like, "Well, if you don't have a license, these are going in the garbage." And I was like, "Oh my god!" So I ended up like losing that whole shipment for shoes.
Yeah, I've got a similar experience with. I was importing some stuff overseas as well, and I didn't know all these things. And you learn through experience where certain places that I guess the customs investigate more. You lose some inventory, and then you learn not to do that again.
Hmm.
So okay, so you're hustling? You're in high school. You got this relationship. You're doing really well selling the shoes.
Hmm.
How do you get on Nike's radar?
Okay, yeah. So I don't even know how I got on Nike's radar, honestly. But so me and my supplier, we have a good relationship going. He's like, "Hey, do you mind if I use your name on my website, as a review?" And I was like, "Sure, man. We're best buddies." So homepage of this website, you got my name on the homepage, dead center. It says Josh Pather, great quality shoes, Dallas or whatever like that. So I think maybe he was on their radar, or somehow was. And so when I came home from school one day, opened up the mailbox, it was Nike Corporation versus Josh Pather. And they actually had a screenshot of his website with my name on it. So they were like, we got you, we got you red-handed. So there was no way around that. And like they had my Yahoo website, they had like his website, they had my name on there, and then it was like copyright infringement. This was like early 2008.
Welcome to the big time.
Mm-hmm. Jumping off the deep end.
So they were suing you for copyright infringement. Now, these shoes, were they like real shoes or were they fake shoes? Did you know? Did you not know?
No, I knew. They were fake, but I mean the quality was so good. I mean back then, as a young kid, you wanted to have the latest fashion, but you can't afford a $200 pair of shoes. You know what I mean? So this was the next best option for me and for all my classmates.
And you were selling mostly to people like around you. You weren't selling online to like people you didn't know, or were you?
Yeah, it was mostly around me. I mean, I had big visions of trying to sell online. That's why I made the Yahoo website, but I didn't know how to market it back then. So it was just like a place for people to go to view pictures if they needed to see like all the options I had.
All right, so they were suing you for copyright infringement.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I've gotten a letter like that too. Maybe I'll talk about it a little bit later, where you're young and it's scary. And I'm sure they have a number in there for what they're suing you for,
Right,
or they're offering as a settlement amount.
right.
How did you resolve that? What happened?
Yeah, I mean that number was 50 grand, and I mean, whew, like that thing. We talk about coming home from school, and like you had a good day. You just kiss your girlfriend, dropped her off at the house. You know what I mean? Like life is good when you're in high school and you're a senior. Like like you feel unstoppable. Then you come home to this, and it's like, oh man, everything just comes to a screeching halt. Yeah. so we ended up settling it. I think it was the settlement was about 5,000. My sister helped me do that. She knew an attorney, and I think the attorney told him like, "Hey, this is just a high schooler, not someone maliciously, doing millions of dollars of transactions."
Yeah, they probably run into that a lot, though. I'm sure there's a lot of those people around, but I see where they're coming from. They have to stop that, right? So, and I think by law, if they don't make an effort to stop everyone, it's harder for them to defend their copyright. So, I think that's just kind of what they have to do.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's that $5,000 is probably a lot or most of all your profits that you made. So that must have been tough.
yeah. I think my dad paid for it though. Like they didn't ask for it. Um, my sister handled it in California. I don't know exactly what happened, but
So, like, was your dad mad? Was everyone upset at you for doing this, or were they
no,
like,
no,
"Yeah,
they knew.
this kid got chops, man"?
No, they knew. I mean, I had packages going everywhere. I had packages going to my sister's house, my aunt's house, a friend's house. I mean, any person who knew me, I asked them like, "Can I ship a package there?" Because I had to randomize the shipments. No paper trail.
It's funny because I have a very similar story where I don't even remember the product, but it was some like hair iron dryer or something like that my wife loved, and I saw she's like, everybody's into this thing now, it's amazing, and I found it on Alibaba,
Oh, I
and I'm
think I
like,
know what you're talking about. I think I did try to sell that.
it was like
Some Australian brand, right?
yeah, it was some like hot thing, and I'm like, all right, what is this? So I bought it on Alibaba because it was a lot cheaper, and I'm like, okay, direct from the source,
Yeah.
it's cheaper, it makes sense.
Right. Right.
And I bought a real one, like my wife had a real one, and I bought a couple samples and I compared them, and I'm like, dude, this is the same thing. I like went over with a fine tooth comb, and I could not tell that it was real or fake. I'm like, all right, this is real.
Uh-huh.
So I started selling that on eBay, and it was going really well. Like my house turned into a fulfillment center. Like I think that the post office put like a special tag on my front door that they had to scan every day because I had a lot of packages.
Oh,
Uh, but eventually, I got a letter from this beauty brand. I forgot the name of this
was
product,
it
but
Chi?
it might have been Chi.
Chi or
Yeah, it might have been.
Mimi? I think it was one of those.
Yeah, and they're like, you're selling fake product. We have proof. We bought one of yours from eBay. Ba, ba,
Oh,
ba, ba, ba. 50,000, 100,000, something like that of a settlement. And I'm like, oh my God, same thing as you. I'm happy. Things are going great.
right.
And that's a big punch to the gut right there. So, and I honestly didn't know it's fake. Like
Yeah.
I actually tried to test it and make sure that it was real, and it seemed real to me. But I guess there's these little things that are secret that the creator of the product knows that I
Mm,
didn't know.
yeah.
And I had the whole thing with you where I'm like, I'm not doing a big operation. I'm just this guy.
Yeah.
You should go after the people on Alibaba. That's what you should go after.
Yeah, exactly, right? Hey, what about the other people like on eBay? Like I knew other people were doing it too.
Yeah, those are the big fish. I'm just over here selling like a couple here and there.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and I got lucky where I just said, dude, I got no money. Like, I understand what you're doing. I'm sorry. Here's the people I bought from, but I got no money. And they eventually left me alone. But it was kind of scary. I'm not
Yeah.
going to lie. Okay, so you're hustling, you're grinding. I'm kind of doing the same thing, right?
Mhm.
Um, then I know you got a job, right? So what happened before? Like you're hustling, grinding, things are working, you're making money, but then you end up trying to get a job. Why'd you do that?
Yeah, I mean, at 16, I always had a job. So my job career path was, I was bagging groceries at Albertsons at 16. Then from Albertsons, I had a job at uh, as a, how do we call it? They make these LED trucks that drive around with signage on it.
Hmm.
So I would work. It was a small business, and actually, I worked there for about 3 years under the owner, and I learned a lot. I was like his right hand man, handling a lot of operational stuff, pictures, videos, that kind of stuff. So this was like during high school, and then after that, I went to Bank of America. This was around the time that I graduated. This was 2009, 2010. And then after that, I was at Experian. Was the last job that I had from Bank of America. So I always had a job. This was always like a side hustle because I knew like I'm not going to be able to work forever. Like I just psychologically I wasn't able to work for someone else. Like
But you still had the like. It seemed like you were always grinding and hustling on the side,
Hmm.
but you still had a foot into like the safety of a job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What advice do you have for people that, they want to be an entrepreneur, they want to do something on their own, but here you are, and there's a lot of people like you that also like have a job until they're ready. So how
Yeah.
do you advise people to think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would recommend always keep a job until you find something that's actually working. Because I went through so many things, right? I mean, selling grills, mowing lawns, importing fake shoes. I was a wedding DJ, but all throughout that, I kept my job because at the end of the day, you do want to get financing to buy a car. You do want to get credit cards. You do want to, like I wouldn't have been able to buy any of the real estate I have if I didn't have a job to prove the income to the banks. Uh, so that was my reason for keeping it um, until I found something that was able to replace my income, and I was at a point where okay, I didn't have any big financial transactions coming up for maybe 2 or 3 years that I can make the transition. Hmm.
All right, so then let's dive into. Obviously, you went into the photo booth business.
Yeah.
What were you doing right before that, and how'd you get into it?
Yeah. So after the Nike lawsuit, um, I still had the skills, right? This is another thing that you always want to work on. I tell people this all the time. Skills are the only thing that get you paid in this world. Okay. So the skills that I learned from the shoe business was how to build a website. Okay. So fast forward now, uh, I meet a guy, and he's like, yeah, I make money from this blog, and he has like a Japanese anime blog, and he's making $1,000 a month off just the ads on the blog. And I'm like, what? What? It was so confusing to me at first. I was so blown away by this. And he logged into his account and he showed me like his Google AdSense and all that. And I was like, are you serious? Like you just get paid to own like a website, you know? Oops, sorry. Siri activated. So he showed me his blog and I was like, oh wow. So when the night he left that same day, I stayed up all night like researching okay how to make money from blogs through Google AdSense and banner ads and stuff like that. So throughout all that, I was like, okay, it's called you find a niche keyword, right? You do your keyword research, you find a topic, right? So I remember I had this topic like oh yeah, this is one of my best ones. First time home buyer tax credit 2012. That specific keyword got typed in like 2,000 times a month into Google, and there was nobody that had a website exactly like that.
All right, wait. That's so random. So let me dive into that. You looked at like traffic, and then you just found something that was getting a lot of traffic. You checked if there was people talking about it. Is that the whole process?
Yeah, yeah. So this software, I was using Longtail Pro. It's a keyword research software. And so you go in there and you type in like a seed keyword, right? So maybe you can type in like home buyers or, shoes or, home, anything, like anything you can tell, lawn care, any topic. And then you set the filters, right? So you type in a seed keyword, then you set up your filters. You tell them, hey, I need it to be at least 5 words long. I need it to have a search volume of at least 2,000 a month. Uh, with the keyword difficulty to rank under, 50 or 20 or whatever. So you set the parameters and then the software will spit out these keywords. So then
So
that's
then,
how
then, then you would just like look at that list and look to see,
yeah.
like you would search them and see if there's any good content on them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You would look at to see the difficulty. You'll see what, like whether other people have found it or
Hmm.
if there's nothing at all or there's just crap, if there's like an article from 98 on there, that's a good opportunity for you to come in and give Google what it needs. You know what I
So
mean?
do you think that would still work now, or do you think that's kind of all tapped out by now?
Oh no, it still works. It's just a little bit more difficult and Google has caught on for it. But I mean, this model is going to be a little bit harder to do. But I mean, this is also the premise of, SEO that's still relevant today, you know? So
Yeah, there's all these crazy stories of people that find that one little keyword, that one little niche, one little product, and then it ends up being a multi-million-dollar business because no one's focusing on it. So,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I'm curious to see if that still works now. It sounds like maybe it's something worth looking into.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, you would have to build a brand and build something substantial. The way I was doing it was more like a quantity thing, right? It was a cheap website with 5 pages at most, I paid someone on Fiverr to write the article, which was crap. But if Google doesn't have anything else to pull up for that keyword, and you just gave Google some fresh content and your new website, and you can, you had a couple of backlinks, maybe a couple of good backlinks, it was easy for you to rank back then.
Why'd you decide to not write it yourself? Because I actually wonder this all the time. Should I hire someone to write it or do it myself? Oh, you said you paid someone on Fiverr to do a bad job. Why didn't you just do it yourself?
Well, I don't know the time. I'm a terrible writer, and I mean, I think the people that I was learning from, like on YouTube and on the forums and stuff, like they were just like, hey, just we have a good writer, on Fiverr, just go on them and use them.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean,
So
it's not like somebody's going to come there and it's going to, read the article and change their life. It was just more to get people to the website. They click an ad and then they go to wherever else they need to go to.
interesting. So you're kind of like a middleman.
Exactly.
You're not trying to write a novel. You just want to get people to the site.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is a common theme that comes up with you. We'll get into later. It's lead gen. You're like a lead gen master, and you were doing this back then, even with the site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, shit, if I kind of contacted some like mortgage brokers or something, we would be having a different conversation now.
If you knew back then what you knew now,
Yeah.
things would be different.
But this also, so this is how I learned SEO. This was 2010. So yeah, the website did really good, and I had a plethora of websites. I had probably 20 different websites I ran at one time. Build them from scratch, keyword research, get the articles, pop them on Google. Some of them would hit, some of them would not. But at the end of the month, it's like, hey, I got a couple. Let's say maybe 5 out of the 20 were producing, about $1,000 a month. Okay, that's fine. Let's trash the other 15. Let's keep the 5. Let's just let them keep running, see how long, we go for, and then let's make 5 more, So that was the whole model. And then Google caught on one day. So I was working at the call center at Experian, the credit bureau this time. So I still had the job going, but still trying to figure it out, on the back end. So Google does this huge update called Penguin. It's a Google Penguin update, and Panda. They did it in the same year. And overnight, there were people that I was following that had hundreds of websites. They got wiped out overnight. Like you literally woke up the next day and everything went to 0. And your websites went from like page 1, number 1 spot to like page 100. So, everybody was panicking and I was like, oh man, here we go again. I had to restart everything. So I took a break from it because I'm like getting frustrated because I'm not able to find something that can work long-term and sustainable. And so during this time, I also was, I was always passionate about music and stuff. And so I had DJ equipment at my house and I would be DJing, friends and families' weddings, just, casually, whenever they needed, a DJ. So I have a friend who went to a wedding and he saw a photo booth there and he calls me up and he says, hey, I think we should look at this photo booth thing. I went there and I saw it and it wasn't that great. And so I was like, okay, well, I don't have any other projects going and Google just wiped me out. So let's give it a shot. And so that's how we got into the photo booth business.
So he came to you with the idea, and then you just kind of jumped in. You didn't really think much of it. You just kind of jumped into it because you had nothing else going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I've experienced, I know what it was like to do weddings, like, as from the DJ perspective, so yeah, I was like,
So you got into the rental game with the photo booths, right? And how did that go? Like, did you have a certain point where you started to see like, hey, this is working much better than everything else I did, or was it a slow grind?
no, it wasn't a slow grind. We hit we hit it running. So I knew how to build websites. Boom. We had the best website, out of any of our competitors in Dallas. I knew SEO. Boom. We were like first page of Photo Booth Dallas. That's why I named the company Photo Booth Dallas. That search term had already 500 searches a month. So we named the company Photo Booth Dallas. .com was already taken, so we named it .org LLC. And that, we built a website. got everything good, bought, got the backlinks done, got the SEO done. I mean, within 3 months, we were on page one. So
Wow.
uh, this is another lesson that all the skills from my failed endeavors, I was able to apply to this. And
I was just gonna say, I love that you made a point of that because you got to fail a few times before you make it, right? But it's not really a failure if you walk away with a skill.
mhm,
So I love that you make a big point of that. I think everything that you mentioned so far in the story, you took a skill from each one, took
yeah,
a skill from each one, and now you kind of combine them in this odd niche of like a photo booth rental,
yeah,
and you end up hitting the ground running and making a ton of money.
right. Yeah. So I was I was still working at Experian this time, credit bureau. Luckily, I actually applied for a different position where I had full internet access. So this was a big thing because I would sit at a computer all day. It was a call center, and in between calls we could freely browse the internet. And this is where I would learn a lot of stuff as well. So another key thing is try to get paid to learn if you have a job. I was texting with my wife's brother the other day, and I was like, "Man, I told him, I was like, you spend all day on social media." He's like, "No, it was just 1 hour, and plus I got paid to do it." I was like, "Don't get paid to waste time on social media at work. Get paid to learn a skill or learn something."
I love that.
Yeah, and that's what I did. So during the day, when we just got started, I was still working. I would be posting ads on Craigslist. I had 3 different accounts. Would use like a VPN, log in with 3 separate accounts and post 3 separate ads that look completely different, but they all for the same company. With Craigslist, like they started to pick up on that. So you had to like change the title, change the pictures, change the emails, like change everything. Um,
Was that worth all the effort? Because I remember at least recently, I looked at that so much effort into putting the new listings, making them all look different. Were you getting enough action back then to make it worthwhile?
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, back then that's the only thing that was around. There was nothing else. There was no Thumbtack, there's no Facebook, there's no 5 Mile, there's no Let Go. There was nothing.
So how'd you find that tactic? Like that's what I like about you is you can talk about the big picture, but you can get into the nitty gritty. Like this is how I did the SEO. This is how I built the website. This is how I did Craigslist. How do you find those tactics?
Uh, well, you always like I don't know. You just got to find a way to manipulate the system. Like we're with the websites, we're like manipulating the Google algorithm until they caught up, right? So with Craigslist, I'm like, okay, all the traffic is here, all our customers is here. Like, how can we do better? How can we post more ads without getting banned? So then you just do some research on that, and these strategies will pop up.
Did you find that the Craigslist customers were cheaper, or did you not have that experience?
Man, when you're starting off, that stuff doesn't really matter. We just took whatever we got. We were humble. The first event that we did, that story is funny. So we built the photo booth in Thanksgiving of 2012, and then we did our first event on December 6th, 2012. It was a DJ and a photo booth for $500. I have the check here. I'm looking at it right now. She gave me $100 deposit. That was a good deal, right? Now that package would cost 1,500, right? So yeah, we get to the event. We set up. I forget my laptop to DJ. I had to DJ with 2 iPhones back then.
Wow.
Thank God they had the headphone jacks. So I had to, left channel was on one iPhone, right channel was on one iPhone, and DJ'd it. And we had an inkjet printer. It was a HP or Canon printer. It took like about 2 minutes to print out each photo. We had a paper cutter, and that's how we did it. That was the first event, and
So
so
I love to harp on that for a second because I find in my experience, people look at like whatever you want to do, whether it's a photo booth company or like I have friends that want to start YouTube channels and they look at these big successful YouTubers and they're like, look at their videos. It's so much high quality production. I have to do that.
mhm,
And I think we just mentioned your first gig.
yeah,
You have to look at where people started,
right,
not where they're at now. You have to
yeah,
do what they were doing when they started. And you just made it work. You had an inkjet, you were cutting the pictures, you were DJing from an iPhone. It doesn't matter as long as you just get going.
yeah, exactly. That was it, and we just kept going, and uh, it was crazy. We got this call for Dos Equis. They sold like 100,000 cases of beer from the Dallas location, and they had that most interesting man in the world. You know that actor they have.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, they had that guy there, and we did an event for them, and they found us on Craigslist. And so
That's crazy that even those people are looking on Craigslist. That's crazy.
yeah, because like I said, back then that's the only place to go to. Like it was either Google or Craigslist, you know, and they had a monopoly on the market, until all these other services started coming out. Uh, and I remember actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I remember seeing this graphic of a screenshot of the homepage of Craigslist and all the apps that have replaced each
Yeah,
section of that page.
I've seen that too. I'll put that in the show notes because it's fascinating. Like that's how big Craigslist was. Like
Mhm.
they turned each category into a whole like $1 billion product.
Exactly.
So it's crazy. I'll put that in the show notes. That's a great point.
Yeah. So yeah, that's we got good, and so on the background we got the website going, right. The SEO is kicking in every day. We posting ads on Craigslist. We're doing YouTube videos. We're just doing what we can, and then just a little bit of Google ads because we don't have too much budget. And so a combination of that, then the SEO starts kicking in pretty big into the front page of Google. So now people are typing in photo booth. Now we're starting to get a lot of corporate gigs. So our first big corporate gig we did was for Poopery. You familiar with them? The bathroom sprays.
Yeah, it sounds very fancy.
Yeah, yeah. So they're actually based out of Dallas here. We go to meet with them. We had 2 meetings. They're like, hey, we're going to do Dallas and Atlanta. It's going to be 3 full days. We want a branded photo booth. We're going to have a model there with his shirt off. And they're exhibiting at a trade show, right? So the trade show has all women in there, and they had a male model, and the model would like wrangle in the women, take a picture with him at the photo booth, collect their email address, and then push them on to the sales staff, right? And they collected like 6,000 emails just in Dallas over 3 days. It was crazy. Like it worked like I was blown away about how effective this thing worked. And I was like, okay, well, we got something big here.
So that was your first exposure to companies using the photo booth as a marketing tool.
Yeah, and we were like, we didn't know what we were doing. They were like, we want branding. I was like, oh God, like how do we brand this booth? Because the booths back then were like the road case style, So
Yeah.
what we did was we went to fast signs and we got corrugated plastic, the sheets, right? So we cut like panels. So we got their branding, we put it on the panels, we cut the panels to size, and then we Velcroed the panels to the photo booth. And then we had some like shower edge trimming for the edges, and it looked clean. It looked clean and simple, and we just got the job done. We had to give them what they want. They knew what they want, and we had to deliver it. So when we went to close that deal with them, I remember sitting at the table at their office. There's like 5 staff across from us, the husband and wife who run the company, and me and my business partner. So we talking with them. Then we pull out the proposal and we slide it over to them on the desk, and they look at it and they say, wow, that's it. Oh my God. And that was $12,000. And
Wow.
like we calculated this, we did like mileage calculations for like Dallas to Atlanta and how many hours it's going to take, plus air, plus the cost, and then like, hotel lodging. And man, like that was a big blow. I always like look back, what's that movie with the 2 guys sell the military stuff? War Dogs.
Oh,
War Dogs.
yeah. Wardle, yeah,
Yeah,
the comedian Jonah Hill, I think.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
in there, and then they go and they're like, "Hey, you came in 100 million less or something like that, and then he starts screaming.
I mean, I guess that's you learn that once and you don't make that mistake again.
That is true. That is true.
So let me just understand this because it sounds like at this point, you and your partner, are you guys doing everything? Like, did you have a location yet? Because you said you went to meet the corporate client. You're doing Craigslist SEO, all this stuff. Is it just you two doing everything?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm handling all the marketing stuff. He's doing like, he handled actually most of the building the photo booths, the photo booth software, the contracts for the events, like dealing with the customers and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
was more like the front end marketing. Well, I guess back end marketing stuff. Hmm.
So then that kind of obviously started taking off. If you start getting corporate clients paying you 12 grand a pop, maybe more in the future,
Yeah.
it starts working really, really well, right?
Hmm.
By the end of the rental, because eventually you went to something else, like how well was it doing? Can you give us an idea of like how big a photo booth rental company can get?
So so the first year we did like 150,000. The next year we did about 400. The following year we did about 700. I think about 700 a year was the max that I got it to. Before I realized, like, okay, the year I made 700, we did coincidentally, we did like 700 events, a little over 700 events that year. And I was like, this is insane. This is too much for me. Uh, so the following year, I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do less events, but we're going to make the same amount of money, but we're going to make more profit. So now my motto is like, I don't care how much, people are always flexing about how much they make, but
Hmm.
what I care about is the net profit, and to be honest, like, just to fast forward to where we are today, like, our 2019 was crazy, right? For 2020 we got crushed, but we actually did a higher net profit in 2020 than we did 2019. So
That's wild.
uh,
Yeah.
it's about how you run the business and understanding, the metrics of business. And a lot of people, they're engineers, they want to start a business, or they're designers and they don't really understand, uh, you know, how to do business and what the banks are looking for.
But you got to 700,000 revenue. A lot of people would dream of that in a photo booth rental business.
Hmm.
Why did you decide to shift into? I think the next thing was you were selling photo booths to other people. Like, how did you make that decision?
Well, like, everything started that year that it was so crazy because, I mean, I kind of look back, my health was, not the best. Every weekend I was working 7 days a week. Um, I was, we worked at the week in the office, right? We had 15 photo booths. So Monday, you get in the office, you open all the photo booths, you check them, ink and paper, make any fixes, do updates, right? By Wednesday, you're like prepping for the weekend. You're in contact with the customer. It was too much. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So that was another lesson that I learned, was that's a scaling problem. When you're getting involved into a business, there's only a certain scale. So I knew with the rental business, in order for me to make more money, I had to get more photo booths and more people. So my expenses with that kind of model, expenses are going up with income. So I had to make a decision then, like, okay, what's the long term play here? To achieve the goals and the ambitions that I have personally, is this going to fit my life 10 years from now? So I had to make a decision, like, okay, I think let's not do as much events. Let's do more higher quality events, charge more money, make more profit, um, with less events, and that way we can, have a breather, or like, instead of doing 10 events a weekend, let's do 3 and make, close to what we would have made on 10, but not have to manage 10 people.
It's kind of funny because in the beginning, when I was asking you, you're like, "Hey, when you start, you got to be humble. You take whatever you can get,"
Mhm.
and that's how everyone should think when they start. But then once you start having some success, then you can start being a little bit more picky and shifting to focus on higher profit clients and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
in the beginning, you got to just hustle and grind and do whatever you can to get going.
right.
But it sounds like you started, all right, so you started focusing on higher profit, like less events, higher profit ones.
Yeah.
How long did that go? And when did it shift to selling to other companies, like photo booth equipment?
Yeah, so I would say probably 2013, 2014. I was working events, right? I've worked thousands of events myself. So people ask us, like, hey, you get people coming from out of town, right? So maybe someone came in from Kansas City, right? And they come to Dallas, and they, obviously the photo booth trend maybe has not caught on in their city yet. And they see this, they're like, oh my God, I've never seen this before. Where can I, where, like, I would love to do this. This seems like so much fun. I'm from out of town and I've never seen this. And so, they're like, where can I get it? Where can I get it from? So I'm like, okay, well, this seems to be an opportunity here, uh, and,
Let me just jump in here because I know a lot of people that get that comment now,
mhm.
and they're like, "Dude, mind your own business. Stay away from my business. Don't try to steal my idea." But you have the mindset like, "Hey, it's kind of like that guy walking in with the trash bag in the barbershop.
Yeah,
Everybody wants it, and you're like, hey, there's something here."
right.
Same thing here. Instead of getting offended when people ask you, hey, how can I get in this business? Your mind shifts to where's the opportunity here? Maybe I can sell it to them. Maybe I can help them and benefit in some way. I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people still have the mindset of, hey, figure it out on your own. Don't ask me. This is my business. Learn the hard way, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And someone told me, look, if they're going to start a photo booth business, they're going to do it with or without you. You might as well be the one to sell it to them.
And
Change
I'm sure,
my life.
yeah, I'm sure you've heard this quote too of like in the gold rush,
Hmm.
who made the most money?
Yeah, the Levi.
Levi selling the jeans and the company selling the pickaxes, right? They made more money than people digging for gold. So selling tools to people is where the real opportunity is, not really necessarily like chasing the end result. So this is something I'm shifting more towards personally in my mindset, in my businesses. And I think, Josh, you started doing this a lot earlier where you made that shift into selling tools.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. That is a very good point. And I usually, anytime I'm looking at a new business venture, I try to run it through that formula. Like, okay, am I actually doing the work, or am I supplying the industry that's doing the work? You know, like
Yeah, I mean the way I was thinking about it too is like you can make a great living with a rental company, like you just said. You get to 700,000. The people get to more, there's people that get to a little less, but it's a great living more than you make at your job, right? But at a certain point, at least for me personally, like everyone has their own way of doing business.
right.
I was looking at ways of, do I want to compete with people or do I want to benefit from the competition?
Hmm.
Sell them tools, sell them software, do a conference and bring people together,
Yep.
sell them education. I think there's like, I do both. So there's ways to benefit from the competition, and there's also ways to compete and make a living that way too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a show. Oh yeah, Undercover Billionaire. Yeah, he's like, try to figure out how to partner with your competition. And that is true. That's true. And some people, sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But not everybody's competition. But the most successful one. Because if you look, I remember watching this documentary series on Netflix. I think The Men Who Built America or something.
Oh my god, I love that. That was
That one.
awesome. Yeah.
Remember when they got together and they burnt all the railroads? Remember, so that the cars would become more popular.
Yeah, there's some crazy stories, and like that's all true stories too.
So imagine like these two tycoons, got together and like basically, and that's why we don't have a big rail system like most other countries in America, because they destroyed it a long time ago to make us dependent on motor vehicles. And so, that's a good example of how two big competitors can come together and, make an industry. Sadly, I mean, they did it different fashion than you could
Right.
today, right?
I strongly recommend people watch that series. I love that series. My favorite part was when Rockefeller, I don't know if you remember this, where the railroads were like hardline negotiating with him to ship oil,
Oh yeah,
and he didn't like their price. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to just build pipes, and he just built a pipeline for oil, and that's how the oil pipeline started. He wanted to get it. He didn't want to use the railroads because they were negotiating with him. So, yeah, the ingenuity. A lot of these guys did bad things. It was a different time in America back then,
yeah,
but like the competitiveness, the entrepreneurialism, it's just a great series, I think.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right, so you started hearing people asking you, "How do I do this? How do I do this?" You saw the opportunity. Did you just shift totally away from doing events yourself and focus on that? Like, how was that journey?
No, I mean, I grew. That was my first baby, the first successful baby. You know what I mean? And so we couldn't just like turn on it. So I mean, we still did that. I ran two companies at once. It was tough because we were like I had to focus, split my energy up. But by that time, the rental business, it was on autopilot. And when I say autopilot, I mean it had a great website. The marketing was automated. We had the leads coming in every day. We had the follow up sequences. We had the processes. We had the CRMs. We had the contracts. All the I guess we were out of the startup phase at that point, if you will. So I could focus more my attention now on starting something else from scratch. And so we started Photo Booth International. And the reason why we named it that because I was like, look, I got pigeonholed with Photo Booth Dallas because when people think Photo Booth Dallas, they thought, oh, we're only doing rentals in Dallas because we got a lot of corporate clients that wanted to book us outside of Dallas, and they would always ask us that. And I'm like, oh man. So I was like, all right, we got to go international. So that's how we named, Photo Booth International. And then started the same process over, website, SEO, marketing, Google Ads, and then started implementing funnels like that. But yeah, just running them at the same time. Hmm.
Did you research, like for Photo Booth International? Did you research that? All right, hey, I'm hearing people ask me about photo booth business, but are they searching for it? Did you do the same keyword kind of thing?
No, I didn't because I knew that I knew the volume of people because I had firsthand experience. You know what I mean?
So I'm curious. I know that this grew into a huge thing. Did you always just focus on people searching for, hey, how do I start a photo booth business, or did you ever branch out into people that are looking to make money and then try to take people who want to make money, like the young Josh Pathers of the world, looking on Warrior Forum, and convert them to like, hey, you want to make money? Here's a good opportunity to make money. Or did you just stick to people that were looking for photo booth business from the get go?
No, photo booth business from the get go. Make money is hard to compete with, especially now when you got Ty Lopez with the Lambo, and you can just buy social media marketing 2.0 at 997, and you can have everything you want in the world. You know what I mean? So I don't want to compete with him because he's technically and make money. You know what I mean? So I feel like, okay, let me focus on my niche and let me dominate my niche because I know my competitors don't know as much as I know to be able to take over the industry.
So where do people get that idea then? From your experience, where do they get the idea to start a photo booth business? If you look up how to make money online, that's not what you see. So where does that come to them?
They see it at events, and I mean, like what we're doing right now, podcasts, YouTube videos. Maybe they're searching on YouTube for how to make money, and they YouTube suggests a video like that. But mostly from events, I would say, because a lot of people we talk to, they're like, we went to an event and we saw a photo booth there, and we thought it would be a good idea, you know.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. So all right, so you were built like when you first started selling these booths to other people. Were you still building them yourself, or because I know you fly to China a lot? Did you find a manufacturer? Were you building them yourself first? How did that get going?
Yeah, so when we started selling, we were in 3 storage units. I remember this. Like we were in a storage unit, and we had 3 locks, and one whole unit was just for like all the components and stuff that we built. So yeah, I was building everything. Um, we would build it, install the software, test everything, and then package it up and ship it. So yeah, I was a lot of hands-on process, with that. We didn't start it, like the stuff that we get from China are the metal fabrication, like still the build out is done here in Dallas. So, a lot of people hate on like, China and stuff like that, but there's only so much you can do. And they're only good at certain things too. You know what I mean? Like from my experience, 10 years dealing with China, they're not good with, I would say the people that I've worked with now, obviously there's some companies that have figured that out, but the quality control, like if something is working, it's good enough for them. You know what I mean? So there's certain things that can be done overseas and certain things that can't. And so what I've figured out is, we get the raw materials, we get the metal manufacturing done. That stuff is just cheaper to get done than paying someone skilled labor here in the U.S. So that stuff comes in from overseas, and then we install electronics like the screens, computers, cameras, all that stuff here in Dallas. We do all the testing and everything here, and then we ship it out. It goes through like 120-point inspection by 2 separate people. So we make sure that whenever they get a photo booth, it's ready to go. You know.
So you sounds like you started by yourself first in a storage unit, and I know I've seen videos now of like touring your office. You've got a lot of people working on it. You've got people doing 120-point inspections.
Mhm.
How did that blow up so much? Like, how big did Photo Booth International get?
Yeah. So I would say probably. Uh, how did it blow up? Let's see. How did it blow up? I think we saw the problem that we solved was we came from the rental business, and I think a lot of people who are selling now, or I don't know, I would say like we saw like it's a one-stop shop. Okay, a lot of people who sell photo booths, they may not give you the education part, they may not give you the experience part. They're not doing YouTube. A lot of people, they see us, they like what we do on YouTube. We do a lot of free training. I spend a lot of time, teaching on YouTube. And so we give them that. We give them the community. We give them business contracts. We interview and follow up with our customers after the sale. So a combination of that makes people trust us more than our competitors, and we're friendlier. A lot of people have just told us, look, you guys pick up the phone, you're friendly, you're easy to work with. um, I treat people the way I want to be treated. A story I like to tell people is like, I went to buy a truck a couple years ago, $40,000, like a Silverado Texas edition. I go to the dealership, we go over test drive, we come back in. I asked the sales rep, I was like, hey man, I'm thirsty. Can you give me a bottle of water or something? And he tells me, oh, we don't have water here, but there's a water fountain by the bathrooms. And I was like, I was so irritated.
Wow.
I was so irritated by that, So when you buy a booth from Photo Booth International, you know, you fly in from out of town. We send a limo to the airport, pick you up. We take care of your hotel. You come to the office. I'm there, right? Almost no one nowadays who's a business owner meets their customers. I go in personally. We're gonna eat. We eat. So we had a lady come in. Mia, shout out to Mia. She came in from Indianapolis on Thursday. So she flew in. She stayed, at the Hyatt Regency. We put her up there. We sent a car to pick her up to bring her to the office. I met her. We ate lunch together. We sat down. We spent about 3 hours. I talked about the company, how we're going to help her, showed her all the videos, helped her pick a booth. And she spent like $12,000 with us. So nobody's doing, like, when they say go the extra mile because nobody's there. I do that, and I live that every day, and our customers can see it, and it's on YouTube, and nobody else is doing that. A lot of my competitors, you don't even know who's running the company. They're not on YouTube. They're not doing podcasts.
So many points. Like, first, I'm just curious, why do you do that? Because like before, you talked about the rental business, and you kind of talked about the issue of scalability.
Mm-hmm.
Like you always being there and meeting them.
Yeah.
How scalable is that really? Like, so why do you do that, even though it seems like it can't scale?
So only if they come in, obviously, not everybody's coming in. You know what I mean? To buy photo booths. I would say a couple of times a month we get people to come in. So most people, they're on the phone. They've already watched a ton of my videos, so they already have that kind of relationship with me, if you will. But I'm just talking about like when they come into the showroom. Now, if you take that 12,000, the same 12,000 I had to do the 2-city 3-day event with the rental business, but I got to make the same 12,000 spending just 3 hours with Mia.
Having lunch at the Regency,
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was lunch at our office. We ordered lunch at our office and we sat down. But because I'm like, look, what's the experience I want when I'm if I'm dropping 10 grand? Like, I understand. I think it's more like just a character thing for me. Like, I want to know, like, I want to show them I'm appreciative of them spending their money with me. I know they worked hard for their money, and they want, it's a big investment for them, and it's going to make them feel better if I go in. And how much ego would I sound? Like, I live 30 minutes away. I'm not that far. I don't have any kids, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go meet them. And they asked to meet me. They're watching my videos. They speak to the sales reps. I have sales reps. I'm not the one picking up the phone all the time. I do pick up the phone and, when needed. But if my sales rep, Derry was the one working with her, she said, oh my, hey Josh, she would like to meet you. She's coming in on Thursday from out of town. Now, somebody took time out of their life to fly in during a pandemic from out of town, and I'm going to have the ego to say I'm not going to meet them. That's just a horrible business. You know what I mean? And I can just, like, that kind of ego, that's going to kill you long term. The trust that I got with Mia now, she texted me the other day whenever she was leaving, yesterday. She's like, Josh, thank you so much for the hospitality. I'm so glad I got to meet you. I'm looking forward to starting my business.
I mean, that's that's business right there, right? It's trust, people, the relationship. That's business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that, and I feel like this, and we've talked about this before, where people wonder, "Hey, Josh, is it worth making all those YouTube videos?" Or with me, "Hey, what are you doing with the podcast? Like, is that going to make you money?"
Mm-hmm.
But what I don't think people don't realize is that when someone's listening, like to me and Josh talk for an hour so far and still going, or if someone's watching hours and hours of Josh's videos on YouTube, those are the buyers. Those are the people that trust you. They feel like they know you. They've been around you. They're listening to you. They're watching you.
Mhm.
When the time comes that they need a booth or they need something, you don't have to sell them. Like they're sold. It's just easy.
Exactly. I
So
can.
that investment in that kind of content, you can't really directly measure the ROI, but it's massive. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I've had people come in that I've never met before, and 15 minutes, like, Josh, I've been watching your videos for over a year. I've been thinking about this. Here's my credit card. I want that booth right there. No sales. No, I have to do nothing to close them. Just here. So I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? They've watched every single video of mine, and I mean,
So that tells you right there, it's worth putting the content. I mean, I know there's like, I'm curious to hear how you think about this because sometimes you put all this effort into making content, videos, whatever, and it doesn't get a lot of views. Like maybe it gets like a couple hundred views. It doesn't get like thousands and thousands of views.
yeah, look, we're 5 years in on this deal, and I just barely passed 11,000 subscribers. It's a lot of hard work. A lot of times I have to like mentally prepare and figure out, okay, what are people struggling with? How can I help them? How can I relate it back to something that I did? And then I just recently brought on a full-time editor to help me edit the videos because I used to edit a lot of the videos myself. I enjoy doing, some of them because like I have a specific like thing in my head and I want to get it out. And then, we have someone now that helps with our social media and stuff like that. But, um, uh, the trust that you build, it's the trust thing. People still don't grasp it. I tell photo booth people all the time, they all do the same video. They get to the event, they set up, they get their phone in portrait mode, and then they hit record. They record the booth, and then they record the props table, and then they do like a 360 of the event, and that's it. That's not going to be enough. Nobody's going to hire you for that. That's garbage. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be on there as a business owner. Hey guys, this is Josh here with Photo Booth Dallas. Thank you so much for watching our video. This is our photo booth here. I can do this. We're going to come in. We're going to get there early. We're going to set up on time. We're going to bring extension cords. We're going to have extra ink and paper. These are our props. We spent thousands of dollars on them. They're going to be customized. We got this cool backdrop here. I'm going to be at your event. I'm the owner of the company. I'm going to take care of your guests. I'm going to make sure everybody gets a picture. I'm going to make sure grandma gets a picture with, the bride and groom. And we're going to take care of you. So if you're ready to book your deal, give me a call right now and I'm going to help you. And then they watch the video and then they call me and then I'm the one actually picking up. It blows their mind. I can tell you how many times attendants will go to the event and they would come back and tell me, they're like, yeah, when we got there, they were like, oh my God, are you Josh?
So I know a lot of people that actually like big players in the industry that got their first booth from Photo Booth International. So clearly it got really big.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one story that I'd like to hear about. I don't know the full story here, but I think if I'm getting this right, there was an employee that you have that I think you still have, and I think you saw him at Chipotle or something like that, and you said for whatever reason you're like, all right, I want to hire this guy. Like, can you tell that story?
Yeah. So Alex has been with us. He left. When the pandemic happened and stuff like that. He's a younger guy, and he has really strict Indian parents. So his parents were like, they wanted him to go the more traditional route instead of doing sales. But yeah. So Alex was working at Chipotle. I would go to Chipotle all the time, and he would always talk to me. He would always greet me, acknowledge me, ask how my day was. Rest of the people they're miserable, right? They just come in, they just, okay, cheese, guac, blah, 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 and done.
Chicken or beef,
Yeah, exactly. And it's so annoying, right? So yeah, Alex was there, he's just always in a good mood. He's always smiling. It's like energetic. Like you can tell, like this guy's built differently. You know what I mean? So, I go there a couple times, and so I get to know him, meet him. The first time I asked him, I was like, hey man, you ever heard about photo booths? He looked at me the strangest thing. He didn't know anything. He's never seen one. He's never experienced one. He was like, man, what the hell is this guy talking about? And I just left it at that. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, never mind. So I just kind of dropped that seed. Then I come back and then, actually, the first, I was like, yeah, I have a job opening. And he said, oh, okay. It's like, nah. And he said, no, I'm good right now. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I was like, so I go back the next time. This was like a couple weeks later. And he's asked me, he's like, "Hey, you still got that job opening?" I guess something had happened up there that he wasn't like happy about staying at Chipotle. And I was like, "Yeah, I do." I was like, here's my number." And he was reading a book at the cash register. It was a sales book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, I think.
Oh, that's my favorite sales book.
Yeah. So he was reading that book at Chipotle, and he had that next to the cash register. He showed it to me, and I was like, okay. Because most of the time when I hire people, I have to teach them how important education is and self improvement. Now, this guy has already solved that problem for me, so I have to spend less time doing that because he understands the value of that. So right there, I was like, okay, man, like we need to sit down and talk. I was like, here's my number. I was like, you can come sell photo booths for me. I was like, what are you making right now? He said he was making like, I don't know, $10 or something. I was like, all right, I'll give you $1 more than what you're making right here. You come work for me. So I eat and then I leave. And then he calls me 10 minutes later. He's like, hey, man, I just quit my job. I'm going to come work for you.
this is like, this is like the Wolf of Wall Street. You seen that movie where the guy sees Leonardo DiCaprio? He's like, "I'll quit my job right now if you
Exactly.
tell me how much you're making." So yeah, okay, continue.
So um, I was like, man, this guy's kind of crazy. I was like, okay, I'll give him a chance. He was a younger Indian guy, and like it kind of reminded me of myself. Like I wish someone came and gave me that opportunity because I needed that whenever I first came here. Like I needed mentoring. I needed someone to show me the way, but I had to kind of figure it out on my own. So I was like, hey, I was like, all right, fine, come to the office. You know, so he comes. We hire him. He gets started. I think he made his first sale like within. I think within 2 weeks he made his first sale, which is like a record. Like going from not knowing photo booths, like anything. He didn't even like. He looked at me with the strangest thing. Like I just told him like a UFO. Like I have a UFO spaceship for sale or something like that. And and he did good. He did real good. He invested in himself, and he just talks with the customers real good, and he makes them feel like friends and family. And that's all. That's what I'm all about. That's how he made me feel when I came to Chipotle, and that's how he was able to be successful, and that's kind of our motto here. It's like PBI family, Photo Booth International family. We talk to people like that. We don't talk to them. It doesn't matter what color, background, or credit score, whatever. We try to help everybody as way we can, best way we can.
Yeah, I love that story. I'm glad I asked about it because I think people often ask like, where do I find people? How do I hire good people?
Yeah.
And I find myself doing what you did, where you look around where you go, and you can tell who's good. You can tell who goes above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just said, everyone at Chipotle is like, oh, black beans or pinto beans, and then you got this one guy always bubbly and asking you. Same thing with me at Starbucks. Like you come across people that just even in like menial jobs, they still show up. They go above and beyond. So if you have them in a position in sales where you can like really empower them and they can make more money and you incentivize them, imagine what they can do.
Yeah,
So
I started poaching because what I realized is resumes are just worthless. You know what I mean? Like, if I hire someone, the first day they're doing the job. I like if you come for sales, you making sales calls the first day. If you're building photo booths for me, you're building photo booths the first day. I want you to fail. If you're gonna fail, you're failing right away. You know what I mean? And I gotta see whether you can do it, where you can last here around me. We can be around this job. You can get the job done. Because a lot of the times, and this is my own mistake, I've hired people based on what they put on the resume, and it's completely opposite, and they can't do the job. And we're already 3 weeks in, and I've wasted so much of time with you. So now I make sure you can do the job first. Whether you work for free or paid, or I see you do the job somewhere else, and then you go, then we move forward like that.
do you feel pressure, like a risk? Like this kid just quit his job immediately to come with you. You don't know if he's cut out for it. You don't know if he's going to do good. What if it doesn't work out? Or did you not feel that kind of pressure?
Um, yeah, like subconsciously, I guess a little bit. But I mean, I knew he could just go get a job anywhere else and make, what he was making, because it wasn't a significant amount. It was no added benefit to his life, right? Working at Chipotle. You know what I mean? He's just a cog in the machine or something, right?
Right.
Uh, so I knew what I had to offer him, and just being around me. I mean, who would kill to be hanging around millionaire all day? You know what I mean? Not to sound cocky or anything like that, but I would have done it. I mean, if someone told me, "Hey, come work for me," I was dying for that. I remember so many times when I was in high school, in middle school, like I wish someone would just take me under their wing and show me the way. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I guess you were willing to do that because, like you said, you saw a little bit of yourself in him. Otherwise, people listening would be like, "Why would you do that? Why would you waste your time? It's not help." Like, you could focus on growing your business. Where are you going to focus your time at mentoring people that are going to leave eventually?
right, exactly. Hmm.
So I'm curious to also hear, Josh, about. And I know you're really big into online funnels,
Yep.
and even the company ClickFunnels, which if people don't know, the CEO, I think his name's Russell Brunson. Is that right?
Yeah, Russell Brunson.
Yeah, he is a really popular entrepreneur. I remember seeing him like on the Profit TV show. He's a master at online marketing, specifically in funnels. Like he dissects funnels. He even built this tool, ClickFunnels, to let people build their own funnels. Um, but you've mastered that, and I think I know you got this 2 Comma award twice, where it's verified that you've driven over $1 million of sales through 2 different funnels, which people can't do that once. And I'm curious to hear you talk about funnels. Like, why do you find them so effective? Would you recommend people doing them? Like, what's the benefits of using them? How do they work, etc.?
Yeah. I mean, funnels. You really, if you're just getting started off, it's probably not a good fit for you. Just being honest, because it takes a lot to understand. It took me a while to understand the concept, how it works, and just having a funnel is not going to make you successful. I'm gonna clear the air about that. A lot of people, oh man, I got ClickFunnels and it's not working. Like it's not going to work. You still have to drive traffic to the funnel, then convert the traffic into leads, and then sell the leads.
I hate to interrupt you, but this is something that recently happened to me where I had a family friend. He's like, "Hey, I'm starting this business. Can you help me make a website?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem. I'll make you a website." As a favor, I did it for him.
Yeah.
A couple months later, he's like, "Hey, man, can you shut that down? I don't want to pay for the hosting. It's not working. We tried."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Bro, you got you got to drive traffic to the website. It's
Right.
not just you put a website up and then you just make money. Like if it was that easy, we'd all do it."
Right. Right.
So people don't understand it's also effort in driving leads. It's the mark. Like there's more involved. So I'm glad you brought that up.
There's the effort here. Here comes the effort part again. Um, so when we started off with ClickFunnels, we had a established business already having traffic, right? I told you we talked about the SEO, we talked about the Google ads. Okay. So we had that part figured out. There was already traffic coming to the website. All we did now was we inserted ClickFunnels in a stage after the traffic, right? So that allowed us to convert more leads. Now, when people think like, what is a ClickFunnel? That's always something I get. Like it's a page that you send people to get their information, and you can sell them stuff too. So I actually did a presentation in one of the ClickFunnels conferences, and I talked a lot to newbies and told them like, don't try to sell stuff in funnels right away. Just try to collect leads first, and then sell the leads on the back end. Because it's much easier to do that than to have people buy something, pull out their credit card and buy something, in your funnel. I wouldn't say it's for the amateur or the newbie business owner getting started, although they do have a good one funnel away challenge that they've launched where they actually walk you through and mentor you for 1 month to do that. So, but if you have an established business and you want to take it to another level, then that would be something good. Like some clients I take on personally, I did this for a tinting company. Tritech Tinting. He's here in Dallas, and he was like, I want to get set up with ClickFunnels. I was like, all right, man, let's take a look at what you're doing. So he's spending about $1,000 a month on ads. He's bringing people to his website, but his website is like, there's like 35 pages on there. I was like, look, it's too much, for someone just looking for tint. I was like, why don't we put a funnel in there where they fill out the form, they get a coupon, and they get some $10, $20 off their tint installation. So we did that for him, and it's working great. He's got like a 40% conversion rate for the landing. He's getting a ton of leads now instead of just traffic. Before it was just traffic to the website, and some people get excited about that, but I don't care about that. I'm talking about conversions. How many people are getting converting? So now it's like he hired me to implement the ClickFunnels for him. and now it's like turning into leads. But he already has an established business. He has traffic. Okay, so that's a main thing. That's the most important thing here that you want to understand. Uh,
So
so
my experience with funnels, I just started because I remember hearing you talk about it all the time. I see it on other places online. I'm like, all right, let me implement my own funnel.
mhm,
So I actually started doing this on my Wizard site where I sell courses.
mhm,
And when the way I was doing it was I already have people that want to buy a course,
right,
and I wanted to implement the funnel to upsell, downsell, like sell them other things. If you don't want to buy the course, here's some other things you can buy.
yeah,
Or if someone's already buying the course, they immediately get prompted to like, hey, here's another course that we have, or here's another digital content that we can sell you at X% off. And I was blown away by how many people like bought more just because they were presented with an offer immediately after. Like you said, it's hard to get someone to get their credit card out, but once they have it out, that's the time to say, hey, you want this, you want this, you want this too.
mhm,
It's the reason why when you go to a grocery store or whatever, there's all the things by the cash register.
mhm,
You're more likely to buy more when you're already committed to buying. So
yeah,
I personally found it very effective in selling more and increasing my average customer value.
yeah, yeah, and like I said, the two foundations, right? You had the traffic, you had the established business. Like if you were starting from scratch and you were trying to like build a whole wizard, foundation inside ClickFunnels, and that'll be a little bit more challenging, and probably frustrating for you.
So then let's dive into that next, because you're also a lead gen specialist. This is what you talked about at PBNY. People loved how detailed you can get on lead gen tactics. So, all right, you have the funnel once you have leads coming in
Yep.
to capitalize on them. What about getting leads? Like, and I know this is maybe a course that's coming soon on Wizard that maybe we can talk about afterwards. But you're the pro at lead gen. How do you generate leads? Where do you start to think about that?
Well, everybody's confused about that because there's so much of conflicting information. So the first place, just like it was 10 years ago when I started, is Google, right? Uh, I covered in detail in my ClickFunnels presentation. I covered this. Facebook, everybody's so excited about that. Facebook ads, it's the big hype. It's the cool thing to do, right? But at the end of the day, if I run a plumbing business, right? If I mow lawns, I can't target someone on Facebook. But yet, my phone is sitting right here, and I'm going to get ads for this later now because it's listening, right? But it's funny. It's funny. I was in the bathroom the other day, right? I got an ad on Facebook for roofing. I-35 Roofing was the name of the company. I screenshotted it. I was like, you guys are just wasting, you just burning money. You might as well burn money. You know what I mean? I'm not in my bathroom scrolling Facebook. People go to Facebook to get away from their problems. They go to Google to solve their problems. So if your business solves a problem, you need to be on Google. So I eliminate everything else. I start with Google. We do the keyword research. Okay. How many people are looking for this product? Okay. Or service, whatever you do. I just took on a gym client, right? So I'm looking at local gyms, Dallas. I'm looking at personal training, Dallas. I'm looking at gyms near me with the geographic of Dallas. Okay, so I'll look at those factors, and that the numbers don't lie in Google. Okay, if Google says there's 100 people searching, and it costs $2 a click, um, that's cool. All right, so I know like okay, I can give Google like $50, and I can roughly get 25 clicks, right? That's the most simplest way to do it. That's where I start. And most of the time, when I talk to business owners, like, oh, I tried the Instagram ads, I tried Facebook, I tried everything else, and it doesn't work. I'm like, what happened to Google? It's the most highest quality traffic, with the highest intention.
I think you just hit the nail on the head because um, people go to Google with search intent. They actually type in like, "I want a photo booth rental,"
Right,
so they want one. They're telling you they want one. It's a less friction lead gen source, right? They want it. You have it. It's easy.
right.
On Facebook, people are just scrolling. So
Yeah,
I found what's effective. At least I don't know what you think, but for me is I go on Google Ads to get leads. And the people that don't book, like they click on your site, maybe they look around, they don't get around to booking it. Those are the people that I retarget and do remarketing on social media.
exactly.
And that way, it's just a reminder to them, hey, you came to our site, you didn't book a photo booth. Just a reminder, if you want one, click this link. It's more of a warm lead as opposed to just being some random thing that you see scrolling through Facebook.
Now, all of my customers that I help, consulting for. That's a strategy. That's the 1-2 strategy. I only do retargeting on social media. You cannot go and find someone who's interested in roofing, in lawn care, in photo booth rental. You can't. I mean, that's the bottom line. There's people who have been able to do it. Congrats to them. I don't know how high quality the leads are. There's people out there that's okay. Facebook ads for photo booth business owners. I don't know how you can target people who have got recently engaged. Yeah, but you're focusing on the wrong thing. Why would I do that when I know somebody's typing photo booth rental Dallas and I can just pay $5 to get that lead? That's a better lead for me. But people are getting sucked into, the hype and stuff like that. So I keep it simple. I do the 1-2 Google retargeting. If they don't fill out the quote form or the lead form, retargeting with ads on Facebook, and that's the best way. That's a tried, true, tested way. And I mean, that's how I do it in my business. There's no secret. There's no secret about that.
So let me ask you, if you don't mind, I'll put you on the spot just to get some advice. With like, let's say my Wizard site where I have digital courses that I'm selling.
Yeah.
Let's say on how to sell virtual booths, how to grow your event business, blah, blah, blah. I've got an email list. I've got a following. You already know I have a following in the niche. How would you recommend I go about promoting that with ads? Would you go on Google and do ads paid there, or would you focus on doing social ads? Because it depends on the product too. Like what you're saying makes sense, but maybe if you're selling a education product specifically to photo booth business owners, maybe it makes sense in that sense to go on social media. I don't know. What do you think? How would you handle that?
I mean, you're more of a high-end product. I just can't imagine someone being on Facebook, then dropping over to Wisdra and dropping $500. You know what I mean?
So you're saying it's probably not worth focusing there.
Yeah. Now what you probably want to do is you probably want to make some kind of free download PDF or something like that, a lead gen, to like filter them, then do the nurturing sequence with the email marketing, and then introduce them to Wisdra afterwards.
So the problem with that is, again, to go back to effort, right? So that takes a lot of effort not just effort, money to pay for the lead. If you're doing paid ads, give them a free content, nurture them, and then hope to sell them down the line. What if it doesn't work and you wasted all that money getting leads and you wasted the time creating all that content? Or do you think it will work? You just got to tweak it.
Man, you can. So, let's talk. Let's go deep on this. So, you can get someone on Fiverr to create a worksheet for you or some kind of downloadable PDF based on you got 2 courses on there, right? They can like distill some of the information and you can give them some value into a PDF that may cost you maybe $100, $200, right? And then now you have an asset that you're going to consistently give people for free. You can make this is built on WordPress, right? Wisdra?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you can make a landing page on there. So you don't have to use ClickFunnels per se, right? And then you can make your landing page. You got the email form there to collect, so you can deliver their free PDF. And then you're running Facebook ads, and you don't need to run, a lot. I mean, you could do it for like $1, $2 a day and see what happens and see if that works, to collect email addresses.
So you're saying in that way, it's worth doing it on a Facebook because it's just a free content that you're giving. If you're trying to sell a high premium course, you would just not do it on Facebook. But this is different because you're giving free content away. Is that right?
I think with Facebook, you'll need to like build up your trust with them, because I can't imagine someone just dropping Facebook and then coming over here and spending $500. Like you have to, like even with us too, we don't just, when they come to the website, we don't try to sell them a photo booth right away. We give them information. We have a 45-day email sequence that teaches them, tells them about stories, tells them about, the opportunity, my story, educate them and build that trust with them. And I think that you can do that fairly cheap, and fairly automated. But once you have these systems set up, you're going to be able to leverage it, for the long term,
So you're saying it's different because you're selling a product to people that are looking to start a business, right? You're selling the physical product, the education. I'm just doing the education for people that are already in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So you still think, and again, I'm digging into this. It's not easy to ask advice publicly, but I think people listening can get value out of it too to see how you think.
Yeah.
You're saying for me, it's worth creating some kind of digital content to give away, pay for ads on social media, have them click on the link, They put their email in to get the free content, and that way you know that these are already people who want to learn more about growing their photo booth business.
Yep.
And then you have some automated email drip funnel where it goes out, where yours is 45 days, whatever it is, you make one where you slowly nurture them, you teach them, you add value along the way.
Hmm.
And at the end, you sell them something. Did I understand it correctly?
Yeah, yeah.
How do you know that's going to work?
I mean, that's what I used in my businesses, and that's worked. It's common cold traffic to, like, unless people know you. So let's say if someone in the industry hasn't heard of you, um, $500 is a big commitment to get them to whip out their credit card and pay. You know what I mean? So you have to build that along the way. That's really the only way to do it.
So that's basically what I was. So my strategy, and I'm sharing this openly, is that I already have like a devoted following in this industry. So I first sell the courses to my email list primarily.
Right.
I might post on a social media group like once or twice, but really it's my email list. That money that I make there, my plan is to reinvest it in ads to make the business scalable and grow it that way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. But running an ad directly to a $500 product, that's just going to be wasted money. What I'm trying to
So
tell you to do is run the ads to something free, collect their email. At least you're getting something in return, and you can remarket to those emails over and over again.
what would you put in the email campaign afterwards to nurture them?
Um, I would maybe just give away like maybe one lesson of the courses, like a sample lesson. I would do that. Maybe you can do the PDF. What else you can do? Some success stories of other people who have gone through and been able to increase it. Um,
So my last question here is that, like with your example, you're selling the photo booth business, right? For me, I feel like, do I need to have different funnels for each course? Because, all right, this course is how to scale your photo booth business. This course is virtual booths. Would you create a different funnel for each one, or would you have one funnel and sell each course in it at different times while adding value?
yeah, I would do one funnel. Having multiple funnels is very hectic. It's a lot to manage. It's a lot
Gotcha.
for me. You know what I mean? I mean, you can do it, but and the reason why I'm saying this is because just the fact of the tracking codes, the analytics tracking on, because each funnel is a separate website essentially, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
if you got 5 courses on there and you got 5 funnels, that means 5 separate tracking codes, five separate conversion tracking codes, and that just gets ballistic at some point, and there's going to be a mess up somewhere. And that's why I like, the way we do it. We drive everybody to one website, and one website uses one funnel, and the one funnel is what I got over $1 million, and that's what they preach. It's the one funnel away challenge, because they try to tell people like, look, don't do 5 funnels at a time. Get one funnel to 1 million, and then work on the next funnel. You know, and I think you can do it because uh, it's in the same niche. You know what I mean? Like if you were doing uh, like courses on like woodworking work, how to make wood and sell it on Etsy or something like that, then that I would say, yeah, probably a different funnel because it's a different type of business. But you're all going to be in the same industry. I think one funnel will be good enough for you. It's going to be easy for you to manage. It's going to be easy for you to track. It's going to be easy for you to scale. When you make changes and do A/B testing, it's going to be easier for you.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I might have to pick your brain more offline, but I hope people got value out of listening to a specific example like that, because I think it shows how you think about generating leads and building funnels and automating, because that's the whole beauty of these online businesses now. Even with a rental business where it's physical,
Mm-hmm.
the sale happens online in almost all cases. So you have to learn this skill, like you were talking about. That's a very important skill, marketing online. If you know that, you can make it in a lot of different fields, maybe every single field out there. Um, but I did want to give an opportunity, because I know I've been twisting your arm to create a course on lead gen, because people loved your content at the
We're
conference.
working on it,
Uh,
guys.
yeah.
I don't. I got to deliver now. I got to over deliver even what I did on there. So, uh, it's in process. I got some good stuff. I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it simple. It's gonna be actionable. You're gonna be able to implement it right away. What I don't want you to do is if you buy this course on there and you don't do anything with it, okay? So at the end of each video, we're going to give you an action step to do, and you're going to go do that before you watch the next video. Because the worst thing you can do, and I get annoyed by this too, is like you go to conferences, you come back and you're so overwhelmed with the amount of information. What do you work on first? Or you read a book and like someone is like, what book are you reading now? I'm like, no, I'm taking a break now. Like I read a book, then I take a break to execute on it. Then, maybe a month, 2 months later, then I start looking at the next book. So I'm in execution mode. And that's what I need you guys to do whenever you're going through the course.
Yeah, and I think what people really appreciate about you is that, and they probably see this so far in our conversation, is that you talk about the high level, what you need to do, the strategy, this is why it makes sense, this is how you should do it. But you also get into the nitty gritty. Like even earlier on, you mentioned using Longtail Pro as a keyword research tool. Like you give exact tools to use, you show them how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you give the blueprint step by step of how to make money, and people just have to take the steps, right? At the end of the day, no one's going to make it for you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll show you how to do it, but you have to take the effort and action into putting it into place. So I'm going to have a link in the show notes to a page. Hopefully, I don't know if it'll be up and ready by the time this episode goes out, but there'll be a page up there for you to opt in to be notified once it's ready. And I think, Josh, you said you had a phone number where people can text you and give you requests for stuff to cover in the course.
Yeah, so it's 972-284-0506. That's You can text me directly and chat with me if you guys have any questions. I always like chatting with entrepreneurs and meeting new people, so feel free to reach out to me.
And I'll have that number in the show notes as well. One other thing a couple other things that I wanted to get into, Josh, is I noticed you work with your wife,
Mm-hmm.
which I think that's amazing. That's what I want to do. A lot of people don't have success with that. It doesn't work out. So I'm curious to hear from you. How do you make that work? Like, why are you guys, were you both entrepreneurial and that's why you met? That's what was attractive about each other? Or did you just get her involved in the business? How does that work?
Yeah, we're actually total opposites. And that is one of the reasons why it works, because we are opposites. So she was not entrepreneurial. She was raised, in a Mexican family. She grew up poor. It was 5 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. So her mom was like, go to school, become a nurse, that kind of stuff. That was the American dream for her. And then I come along and I'm like, I hate that kind of strategy. Go to school, all that stuff. Unless you're doing it for like, doctor, attorney, lawyer, that kind of stuff. So it was a big challenge in the beginning, because I had to show her like, look, there's another way to win at life, and it's not just going to school, becoming a nurse, and going through the normal rigmarole, right? So it took a
But how challenging is it really if you have like a $700,000 revenue company and you're growing this other thing? Like, was it really that hard to convince her?
well, it wasn't like that. We didn't have 700 in the beginning, right? We're talking about 12,
Gotcha. Yeah.
in the beginning, like that. And so it got to a point when she came aboard to help with the rental business. She came aboard in 2014. She would come home crying every day. She was a pharmacy tech. Her schedule changed week by week, so we didn't know when she was working week by week. There was a lot of favoritism. People below her were making more than her. So those factors, plus my growing business, and I'm like, look, it's only going to make sense for you to, like, it doesn't make sense for you to go get another job and you're going to have to deal with the same, managers and pay and scheduling. It's the same thing that everybody deals with that has a job. So we're like, well, let's just try it. If it doesn't work, you can go and get a job somewhere else. And it took, a long time for her to get over the fact that it's not just my business. It's not, a lot of wives say, oh, I help my husband with his business. You know what I mean? Uh, the mind shift happens when it's like, this is our business and we're building it together and we're going to build an empire together. And that takes 5 years. I'll just tell you, that's a 5-year battle. Not a battle, but it's a 5-year thing that you have to work with and get on the same page. And you have to be on the same team. A lot of the times people are rowing against each other. They're not understanding. And I'll just give you like a quick example. Like the house I live in right now, we bought this house last December. We bought it for $350,000. We thought this was going to be our forever home. the market is so hot right now that the value of the house has gone up 150,000. We decided to like, hey, let's put it for sale and let's move. Let's take that money. That's a good financial business decision. Now, most people's wives would be like, oh, we love it here. It has a nice kitchen. I don't want to move again. That kind of stuff. But finances on the same page. Like, hey, let's do this. This is a good financial thing. Let's upgrade. Let's go somewhere else. And so I think a lot of times, a lot of the energy is spent in conflict or disagreements and not being on the same page or not having the same vision. We sync up and we have the same vision, we have the same outcome. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Okay, we want kids. We want the kids to play outside in the lawn. I want to teach them how to ride bikes. I want to go fishing with them. I want to do the things, that I did, play outside with them. I don't want them to be inside with iPads and stuff like that. And so, we try to make sure we're on the same page and we sync up. And it took a long time to get to that. But when that does happen, the benefits are just crazy. Like right now, she's, she has, I told her, I was like, hey, I'm going to be on a podcast. She brought me coffee and she supports me and we support each other. And we got a lot of this from Grant and Elena Cardone. That's, our people that we look up to, and we kind of, they're role models for us, and Jasmine has had Elena on her podcast and she's went to her masterminds, and I've invested significantly with Grant, and they talk a lot about that, about building an empire together and being on the same page. And, they have it all, or not, they have it all and they're working on themselves. And they tell us that all the time. They have a plane, they have, $1 billion worth of real estate, they have a family, they have their health, they have a business, and you can have it all. And if you get over all the small things, then you see like, okay, well, they can do it. Grant didn't grow up rich. He was a drug, user. And, he was able to make it. And so you just take these principles that they teach and implement it into your own lives, but really implement it, not just go read a book and think like you did it. You know what I mean? Like syncing up and being on the same page and having the same vision to build an empire. That's, the operating system, that we live by, and it's not emotional, like a lot of people think like when we moved into this house, they're like, oh man, it's so big. It's nice. They're going to be here forever. Like when we told people we sold our house, or we were selling our house, like they were like, why, what's going on? It's such a nice place. Like that's emotional reaction. You know what I mean? It's not empire strategies. And so it's just an example of, being on the same page and the vision that we have and syncing up. But it takes a lot of work. It did take a lot of work and a lot of investing in ourselves over the years, masterminds, Tony Robbins, podcasts, books, that kind of stuff. But it's possible. And Grant and Elena are big, we see that they can do it and say, okay, well, if they can do it, we can do it.
I love that we had an opportunity to riff on that because I totally agree with a lot of what you just said. I know it's like a power couple where you don't want to build something alone, right? It's helpful if you have a partner, like a real partner that understands everything and is in there with you and you build it together. It's more satisfying that way. You can go farther that way.
Exactly.
And like you mentioned with the job, same thing with my wife. I mean, I remember she was pregnant and working at a bank and they got mad at her for taking a sick day.
Oh,
And I was like, what? I'm like, yo, you go on tomorrow and you quitting that job.
mm-hmm.
That's not the way we're going to live.
Right.
But I find other people have a hard time fusing their relationship in business. All like having a spouse or a partner in business and working together is very difficult for some people. Thankfully, me, you, I think we got lucky with our wives.
We did.
So that's a very important thing, probably the most important decision you make
Exactly.
in your life. And it's awesome to see, even from afar with your wife, she's stepping up a lot. It sounds like she had a journey to get to this point, but now she's like running the other podcasts on her own.
Yep.
She's growing into more of a leader in the business. So that's awesome to see. So good kudos to her and for you for helping her as well.
Yeah, it's, I'm really happy for that. And when people tell me like, oh, it's tough to do it with your wife, and I also tell them like, this is the person you trust the most in this world. Like if you can't do this together, like it's very questionable to me. You know what I mean? I mean, that's my personal outlook on it, whether they believe it or not. Like, if there's anybody you should be able to build a business with, it should be a wife. You know,
Definitely true. I think it just depends on the people. Like some wives, some husbands, they're just not into business at all. Like they just don't have
right?
that in them. Like we talked about from the beginning. Like you have it in you, she has it in her. Maybe you have to pull it out of her a little bit more, but it was there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Some people just don't have it, and no matter what you do, I don't know if you relate to this. Not just about your wife, like friends, family, people asking Josh, "Hey, give me advice. How do I become like you?" Uh, some people I give advice, and they just you know from experience they're just not going to do anything with it, and I don't know why. I don't know. I can't figure it out. I just boil it down to they just don't have that in them.
Hmm.
Like I don't know if you relate.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of people is like that, and that's just the truth. I just I used to try so hard to try and make them change. Like, look,
Yeah.
there's a family member that he works at the rail. Drives the trail, the Dallas area rapid transit, and his schedule. He knows his schedule at like 3 p.m. for the next day. So like every day his schedule changes. He doesn't know what it is, and I'm like, look, man, you're making okay, $25 an hour here. I was like, you can literally go, you can start a car wash business, you can start an Amazon delivery business, you can start a lawn care business, you can do some home service, you can wash windows, you can do power washing. Maybe in the beginning you won't make as much as you're making at the job, but at least you get your life back, you get your health back. But he's stuck in there, and it's sad, but there's like I try to help him as much as I can by sending him like motivational stuff and all that. But some people don't have it, But that's fine.
Yeah. I
Nothing.
I've done the same, and I recently came to realize like we have good intentions. We want to help people grow. Some people they don't want to grow.
Right.
Some people they're happy. Like I have friends that say, all I need is my cup of coffee, my cigarette, and I'm good. I'm happy.
I have
You know,
that one in law.
the good
I remember.
good good for them, bro. I mean, sometimes I wish it was that easy for me to be happy. I don't know. It's a blessing and a curse to have this fire that we have, where
That's true.
you want to do better, you want to do better, but like, when will you be really happy? Because there's always more to do. There's always another level to get to. The empire can always grow more,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm. That is true. Nah, unsatiable, like never happy. That's one of my traits, But I mean, I don't know. Some people think it's a curse. This is the way I am. I'm happy. I'm happy striving for more. I'm happy when I'm doing stuff. You know what I mean? I'm happy when
Yeah,
I'm producing. I'm unhappy when I'm not. I can't just spend the whole day like just sitting on the couch. I can't. Like that shit that even just kills me. Like I
same.
got to get something done. We got to get some business. I don't know. That's how I am. I felt like maybe I've wasted a lot of time in the beginning, and I don't want to waste more time because time is finite.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You kind of alluded to in this last few minutes with all the education that you do, that your wife does with conferences, listening to podcasts, masterminds. I've also noticed this too, where you invest a lot um, on your equipment, your computer, your education, and I think most of all your education.
Hmm.
Can you talk about like why you do that? Because a lot of people, like I try to sell courses. I'm sure you sell content too.
Hmm.
They're very resistant to spending any money on education. Like you could give them a $10 book, and they don't want to buy a $10 book. But there you have Josh and his wife spending thousands and thousands of dollars at programs and flying across the world. What is the mindset difference that you have that other people don't have?
Uh, well, I know it changes it personally for me, and I'm confident in myself enough to execute and make it work. I think a lot of people they won't spend the money because they know they won't do anything with it, and I think that's a difference. Like for me, like I went to Dan Pena, I went to his castle to do a 7-day seminar with him, and I mean this is one of the most elite masterminds in the entire world. I mean, he's made billions of dollars, buying and selling businesses. And um, that investment was 35 grand just to go there. And that's outside of travel costs. With the travel costs, it must have been about 40,000. But I knew like going there, it's going to change my mindset. I'm going to be able to network. I'm gonna come back and be able to execute, and I want to be around people because that was the next level for me at that time. Um, but at the end of the day, I have also thought about this a lot, and I'm so confident in myself that I'll execute on the information, and I think a lot of people they just won't. That's why they won't spend the money, whether it's a $10 book or $10,000 course or something like that. If they're hesitant to spend the money, it's not. Uh, I think personally, it's that they know they won't do anything with the information when they get it.
Yeah, I mean that's such a powerful thing. Like people are all going to be wondering, like, "Hey, Josh, how did this guy make millions of dollars? He's got a nice sports car, he's got a big house, and how does he do it?" Well, he spent $40,000 in education for one program.
That was
I mean,
the program that year, yeah.
yeah, if you add up all the other programs that you do, I'm sure it's a much bigger number in total.
Hmm.
How many people invest in themselves that much? Maybe it's true, like we just said, it's about belief.
Hmm.
Maybe people won't believe in themselves, but you do. You invest and you get it done. And I think there's a lot of power in like the reason why it's worth paying for education. Sometimes you learn a lot, you get the shortcuts. You're around other people. Like think about who would go to that event.
Hmm.
But also when you commit and you pay, there's a psychological effect that it has on you where you're like, yo, I got to make this worth it. I spent 30 grand. I got to make an ROI out of this. Otherwise, it's a waste. So there's a lot of reasons why it works. And I find that people that invest in their education, it doesn't matter what it is. Maybe you don't have 30 grand. Maybe you just read books and listen to podcasts every day. Those people make it because they're always trying to get better.
Right. Yeah, you gotta. It's a step up. It's not a cheap investment, but I started off. The first big investment I made was in like Cardone University. I remember spending 5,000 on that in 2016. And I mean, we had one of the best years. Because of a result of that, because I spent 5 grand, and it was a big number for me back then, and I learned how to do sales, and I became a better salesman because of that.
Yep.
You know.
I mean, I've also spent thousands on courses. Like I remember spending a couple $1,000s on a copywriting course.
Hmm.
And now people see my emails and they're like, "Yeah, how do you write such great emails? Can I hire you to write my emails?" Yeah, I spent a lot of money and a lot of time investing in that to get better. That's why. And now that skill, going back to the idea of skills, if you can sell to an email list, if you can write good copy on a website, you can make millions of dollars selling anything.
Mm.
Right? That's a very important skill to have.
Yeah.
All right, so let's shift to investing because I know you're really big on investing. I like this about you too. I know you're doing real estate investing and you do dividend investing. So, can you talk a little bit about that if you don't mind?
Yeah. So, one of my favorite stuff. So a lot of people are, they have a business, and you hear this all the time: reinvest all your profits to grow your business. That is incorrect, boss. You know what I mean? So, what you should do is you have a business, you generating income. You need to take a little bit off the top and invest it into real estate and into stocks. So, and I'm so passionate about this because I know if I started doing this, 8 years ago, I would have a bigger portfolio of real estate and stocks. Um, a lot of the time when you reinvest the money back into the business, you're putting the money back at risk. So if you tell me like, hey, you got a net profit of 100,000, let's say you have 100,000 left over, right? Okay, take 25 grand and invest it into real estate or stocks, and then put 75 back into the business to grow it. Don't put the entire 100,000 back at risk because your business may not grow, right? I mean, look what happened, with the pandemic. Let's say if you did that in 2019, pandemic came, you got crushed. But if you bought real estate and stocks, those actually did the best that they ever did, prior to any other year. So with the real estate, so my first property that I bought, it was me and my sister. We bought like a 4-bedroom house. So it was about 10 years ago. I was 21 at the time. Bought that for 120,000. We sold that for 150,000. Me and Jasmine moved into a condo. We bought that for 80,000, sold it for 120,000. Then we bought another house for 220, which I still have now as a rental. That appraised for 260 in July of this year, and it's bringing me rental income. So it's you buy a property, live in it, and then flip it or turn it into a rental income. That's how I've built my portfolio, and it's an easy way to do it. It's a manageable way. A lot of people think like, oh, I can never be a real estate investor. I don't have 100 grand. It doesn't have to start like that. The condo that I bought was 80 grand, and I lived in there and I renovated it myself and I painted the walls and I redid the countertop with the Rust-Oleum kit from Home Depot, and I upgraded the faucet. You slowly upgrade it, and it increased value over time. And then I sold it and made some profit on it. And you just keep doing that, over a 10-year period. That's how you really build it up. I think a lot of people are confused with the time that it takes to build these things up, but also confused with how much you can get done in a 10-year period. So doing that for the real estate, just flipping and getting bigger properties and turning them into rentals. Also, if you have a business, luckily, my business did well enough that we purchased our first building in 2018. So we have the place that we're in right now. We purchased it for $500,000. We had to renovate it. It's a 5,000 square foot building, and I completely remodeled it. That's where the showroom and everything is. That's where we visit customers. I put it up for sale for $750,000 in July, and so that's going to be a $200,000 profit, $250,000 profit on that. And then now I'm looking to move into a multi-tenant building where looking to get the tenants to pay the entire mortgage, and we get free basically rent for my business.
So are you looking for like properties that will appreciate in value, or are you looking for properties that generate cash flow when you look at real estate investing?
A little bit of both. Also, like if it's commercial property, like I know, like, okay, can I move my business in there, or because owner occupied real estate for commercial, the banks love that, right? So they give preference to that. SBA gives preference to that. Like the SBA deal I'm looking at now, they're giving like 25-year term at probably around 5% interest rate, and I only got to bring 10% down. Okay, so if I'm looking at $1 million building, I can bring in $100,000 for the down payment, get a 25-year note on there, and let's say, maybe there's one or two tenants. Just with one or two tenants in there, and I occupy the rest. Let's say there's 3 spaces. If I have 2 tenants, the 2 tenants can cover the entire note off the mortgage, and I can be in the third space for free.
Yeah, and I think what you talking about before with the real estate, where you and your wife lived in there, then you sold it. I think that's kind of, if I'm right, it's called house hacking, where a lot of people do this, where because you're living in the property, you have to put much less money down. And then after a year or two of living in there, you can sell it, go to the next one, and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how people accrue a lot of rental properties. They buy a home that's like 2 or 3 units. They live in one unit, and after a year, they do it again because you have to put like 3 or 4% down or something really, really small.
Yeah,
And
like,
go ahead.
was no intention. It just happened like that, but I always got a good deal on them to start off with. It fit my lifestyle at the time, and then as things changed in my life, it wasn't a good fit, and I could afford something else, and then turn that into an asset. It can be done. It can be done for sure.
People always ask me too about real estate because right now it's hot. Like even around me, I was flipping properties. I can't really flip properties anymore because it's just too crazy, the valuations.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're buying for rentals, I don't really care how hot the market is. Oh, it's too overpriced. I don't really care because the money's so cheap. If you can borrow at a cheap rate and it generates cash flow and that gives you enough of a return, then it's a good deal. Who cares if it's a hot market, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at the return, and then when the market drops, you can buy more in the future. You don't have to not buy anything now just because the market's hot. If the numbers work, the numbers work.
Right.
I'm curious about the dividends because I also do the same strategy where I buy stocks. For people who don't know, there are like these stocks called dividend aristocrats or dividend kings, where there are companies like Coca-Cola, Procter and Gamble, AT&T, where they have a track record of like 30, 40, 50 years where every year, no matter what, Great Depression, recession, financial crisis, they increase their dividends every year. And the reason why that's a good investment, and I think this is what Josh does, he can chime in about it too, is let's say you buy AT&T stock right now, it's like $29 a share. They give you a 7% dividend. So every year you make 7%, whatever that is, like $2. But every year they increase it so that $30 that you put in, in 5, 10, 15 years, you might be making 15% on that money that you put in.
Right.
Because it's a growing cash flow source. That's why a lot of people love that. I don't know what you think, Josh.
Yeah, so the whole thing, what actually got me started on that. So when the pandemic hit, one thing I did was I took note of the people I followed and how they reacted. You know what I mean? And so a lot of the people, people, I mean, everybody was scattered, everybody was scared. And one person in particular, his name is Stephen James from Project Life Mastery. I've been following him for, I would say, maybe 7 years now. And I actually went to one of his masterminds in his house in Canada. But he's a big YouTuber, and he talks about, living mastering your life, every area of it, health, wealth, love, happiness, that kind of stuff. Um, when the pandemic happened, he was cool, calm, and collected. A lot of the business people I followed, obviously, like even Grant, he had to let go a bunch of people, like things were crazy, that kind of stuff. But he was just like really calm, and he kept making his videos, and he showed like one of the things that he does is he showed his portfolio, and he has like about a $3 million portfolio, and the dividends on that is like just over 100 grand a year, off that. And I'm like, wow, like he could literally just live his life, not have to do anything ever again, and just live off the dividends while the value of the stocks are going up every year. Like that's the
That's it.
ultimate goal, right?
That's so powerful. I have relatives that like they want to retire and they're like, oh, I'll just sell my house. I'll make 600,000, and I'm good. I got 600,000 in the bank,
Yeah,
and I'm like, dude, why don't you put that 600,000 in dividend stocks and make 30,000 forever?
right, exactly.
Like forever, and it goes up forever, and you can leave it to your kids. I don't know. People don't have that mindset. They just want that cash in the bank. But I'd rather have that 100,000 a year, and next year it's going to be 105, and then 110, and then you can leave that to your kids. It's a growing asset. I don't know why it's such a hard concept to grasp for people.
Yeah, I mean, money is always like that. It's like everybody's an expert and everybody has their own opinions on it. But I told you the story about this because this is how I started. Prior to March, I actually wasn't doing stock market. Like I was so focused on business and real estate. I got stocks was not even on my radar. But I looked at this guy. I'm like, okay, this is what I want to be like in the next recession. You know, like when 2030 comes and we got COVID-20 dropping. You know what I mean?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. But I mean, I want to be prepared. I want to be like this guy. I want to have enough in my portfolio that I'm living off the dividends and I'm fine. And it can be passed on. And it's such a simple strategy that people overcomplicate it. I only buy like Fortune 500. My portfolio: AT&T, Bank of America, Coca-Cola, Johnson and Johnson. Like it's companies that have been around for longer than me and you have been alive. Uh, and if you like, it just makes sense.
I think it's just not exciting. Like I remember telling my friend, and I'm like, oh, just get AT&T stock. I like that stock. You make 7-8%. They grow every year, and they're like 7-8%. That's it. I'm like, bro, what are you getting in the bank, man? What do you mean that's it? Like, so I don't know. I think it's the mindset. So hopefully, if anyone learned anything out of this conversation, they learn to invest.
Yeah.
You mentioned that the person that you looked at was calm, cool, and collected. I remember in the 2008 financial crisis, one of my mentors, I remember at that time, I was talking to him and I'm like, dude, market's crashing. It's crazy. It's terrible. And he's like, I just put all my money in the banks, the financial stocks. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? They're all going bankrupt. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
He's like, if they all go bankrupt, nobody's going to care about how much money you got. Like we're in big trouble. So he knew it was going to bounce back, and he bought it dirt cheap and made millions and millions of dollars just from staying calm, cool, and taking action at the right time when everyone else is scared.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. That's what we aspire to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I share my stock portfolio. You've seen a couple of my videos on there. Like like my next goal is to get 100,000 invested. I'm close to about 60,000 now. So if anyone wants to check that out, you're welcome to look at my YouTube channel. It can be on there, and I'm sharing it. But it's nothing complicated. It's so simple that it's not cool. It's just like the Facebook ad thing. Like people go on YouTube and they're like, oh, do options and do Forex and trade Bitcoin and crypto. Like, man, you're going to lose your crap. You're going to lose everything doing that. And there's a place and time for that. But it's not for me because I'm involved in other things. I rather have money for sure than, I'd rather have a guarantee than, put it at risk for a higher return. Uh,
Yeah, there's definitely different strategies for different things. Like you want to preserve and grow your wealth. You want to go into safer things and more secured cash flow. So that makes sense. I have seen your videos. I like that you are so open about it. You show your portfolio. You show what picks you make, why you make them.
mhm.
So I'll definitely link that in the show notes as well. I find it helpful, especially to people who, a lot of people are scared of stocks. They don't get it. Like my friends, they understand real estate. Yeah, I buy the house, I rent it out, I make money. But when I tell them stocks, they don't get it and they're scared. But it's really simple, man. It's the same thing. You buy the asset, you have cash flow. Um, I don't know. So hopefully they check out your video and it clicks more for them.
Yeah.
A
And
couple,
like I'm
yeah, go ahead.
at the point where I'm just like I have a condo that I rent out right now. I paid about 70,000 for that. But I had to put some money in it to renovate it. Then I had to deal with the tenant. Not that the tenant was any problem, but any human interaction is going to be an inconvenience for me. But like had to, do the credit report and, screen them and like no matter how much well you do that stuff, like even you never know how good the tenant's going to be, right? Thankfully, I've had great tenants. But it's like, man, if I just took that money, like, let's say 75,000, put it into like dividend paying stocks, okay, I'll be making maybe 1,500 a year on that, but the value's going up like every day almost. And, I don't have to deal with anything. And I can liquidate in a heartbeat. I've been trying to sell this condo now for 6 months and I can't liquidate it, you know?
There's also costs to selling it and buying it. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I actually worked at a real estate finance company on Wall Street. And I remember, I'm looking to do real estate deals. I still do. If there's a good deal to invest in, I'll do it.
Right.
But I remember I was like, you know what? I'm curious. Let me walk around the office. These are all real estate professionals. This is what they do.
Right.
And I want to walk around and I asked almost everybody, do you own real estate? Like, where do you put your money? And almost nobody owned real estate. They all put their money in the market.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Like what you just said, when you look to, I don't know about Dallas, but in New York, if you make 7% on a real estate deal, that's amazing. Like the cap rates here are so low,
Right.
it's hard to get that return. But you can put that in a stock and make 8% guaranteed
Right.
and have it grow every year guaranteed. And you can liquidate it a lot easier. It's no work involved fixing it, dealing with tenants. It's just really passive income.
Right.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, I tell people this: my children are going to look at me and they're going to say, "Daddy, what were you doing when all of this was going on in the world? When Bitcoin was coming about? When the stock market was going crazy? When the internet was founded?" And like, am I going to sit there and tell them like, "Oh, I didn't do nothing"? You know what I mean? Or I'm going to tell them, "Look, hey, I surfed it. I surfed the wave, and that's how we are where we are. And that's how we built the empire."
For sure. Couple final questions, if you don't mind. So you mentioned like Grant Cardone and Ty Lopez and these people. I'm always curious about this because I'm trying to get more into social media content too. And like these people, they have lovers, but they have people that uh, haters, for lack of a better word. They think they're scammy. They post the good life, the jets, the cars. And I've seen you post this as well. It's not all you post, but you do it as well. And I'm wondering, for someone like me trying to get into more active social posting, do you do that stuff on purpose? Is it intentional? Does it work? Or do you think people view it as scammy? It turns them off? Like, how do you think about I guess selling the dream. How do you think about the social media content from that?
Uh, Man, honestly, I'm not a show off person, but I had to do it to get the attention. Because if I'm not doing it, they're paying attention to Ty, right? And I need to get some of that attention. It's all about attention. You know what I mean? Is it in my personality to do that? No, I'm a humble person by nature. But if the other guys are doing it and they're getting attention and they're getting leads and conversions and sales, then I have to do it just because that's what the market dictates. Now, Ty was one of the first ones to do it, right? We can all proudly say that, and that's the truth, right? He started, 2010 with the Lambo thing, but I think a lot of the things have changed now, where because a lot of people are getting exposed, renting Lamborghinis and stuff like that, and people talk about stuff that they haven't done. So I think that's why I try to be like a little bit more blended with it. I try to show like my personal life, my travels, my accomplishments, my wife, my dogs, and then throw in a sports car every now and then, uh, that kind of stuff. So I try to just appeal to everyone, but every day like social media is changing. The Lamborghini stuff is still getting more views than someone sitting in front of a computer. You know what I mean? And that's just the state of the union.
Yeah, I think that that's a great explanation. Like people get mad at them for posting the content.
Mhm.
Maybe we should look at ourselves. Why do we want that content, right? And I think the way you explained this perfect. Like you have to give people what they want,
Mhm.
so you can give them what they need, right? First, you got to give them what they want, get their attention, and then you can give them what they need, the real education, the real information. But first, you got to grab their attention. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Like looking back, if like Ty didn't show us the Lamborghini, now I've learned a lot of stuff from Ty, myself, and so if he didn't show the Lamborghini at first, would we have really paid attention to him? Probably not.
Probably not.
So that I guess
It's effective.
what you have to do, but I think now people are more aware of that stuff, and they're kind of tired of it, per se. And like, there's this guy I follow on YouTube. He's like lives like a minimalist life, but he has like 7, 8 sources of streams of income. And he kind of shares his life and like the way he has his apartment set up and stuff like that. So I think those stuff are breaking through now, and it's kind of changing from what it was.
That's interesting. Definitely the minimalism, like Marie Kondo, and like really focusing on minimalism is definitely becoming a new thing now. So let's see how that plays out. I'm also curious, Josh. How do you balance all the different things you're doing? Like we talked about, you're doing all the rental, then you're doing all the photo booth international, you're building the booths, you're flying to China, you're consulting for people now for digital marketing. How do you manage all this? You're doing a podcast. Your wife has her podcast. Like there's a lot. You're doing investing, real estate, dividends. How do
Right
you
now,
do it
at this
all?
time, there's 4 real estate transactions going down right now at this time that we're talking. So I have 4. I'm buying a piece of land. I'm building a house. I'm selling my building, and I'm selling my house. That and my condo is for sale. So all that's going on at the same time. Uh,
So what's the secret? Because I personally, like I asked someone in the last interview about this too, where I struggle with this, where there's so much I want to do.
yeah.
There's only so much time I have. How do you do it? Do you hire people? Do you outsource some of the work? Do you just grind and hustle and do it a lot of it yourself? Like how do you handle all that?
Yeah, so like the business side of things, we have the team. There's 5 people on the team. They handle most of that stuff. All I strictly do for my business is the marketing, which I enjoy and which I'm really good at. Then, mo- you know, one thing I'm pointing out and I'm realizing lately, I spend 10 to 12 hours of my day, like all my waking time is spent on revenue generating activities. So whether I'm looking at the market for stocks, whether I'm looking at Bitcoin, or I'm looking at new marketing software, or how can we make a new YouTube video, or how can we optimize our YouTube. It's just spent on revenue generating activities that I'm good at, and then outsourcing the other stuff that I'm not good at, and that's pretty much it. And it's overwhelming for a lot of people. And Jasmine does get overwhelmed. She's like, "Oh my God, there's so much going on." Like, and then we just my dad just passed away on the 26th, and so that on top of everything else, plus with the corona, we can't see our families and all that. Um, I don't know. State of chaos is, I guess, where I'm comfortable at. And then also comes back to like Grant's 10x rule, right? Grant Cardone is like, keep the pipeline full, make sure you have multiple deals going at the same time. And that's just what, like, I don't know, I get bored. I'm, if you will. So I like to have multiple things going on at the same time and stacking stuff. That's just what I'm comfortable with. And, my wife is the opposite. She doesn't like all this uncertainty, and we don't know where we're going to live, and we need to find a house to rent, to move into, and all that stuff is happening. So, because if we're both like that, if we were both, like me or both like her, we wouldn't get anything done. So I think we have a good team effort like that. But I mean, there's no secret. It's what's going to work for you, and what works for me because that's what I'm used to. And I've been doing this for 10 years. I have that lawsuit actually in the office, and the date on there is 2008. So if you do that, I mean, that's 12 plus 2001. It's almost 13 years that And then not counting the years that I started was selling grills and lawn mowings. I've been doing transactions for a long time.
Yeah, I think what I struggle with is the same thing with a lot of people listening is that you have a lot to do. It's just hard to focus on what you should be doing, like what to prioritize right now. There's always a lot to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, when you're starting something, like, for example, with me with this podcast is not generating revenue,
Yeah.
but it's taking my time.
Right.
I want to hire someone to do the editing. I want to hire someone to do social media posts. But should I? Because I don't have revenue to pay for that person. Like, how do you think about that? Growing the team so you do less work,
Yeah.
but you don't have enough revenue to pay for the team yet. Would you hire someone or would you wait?
Like for your particular situation, I would wait. For me, like I just like for my podcast that I have, like I just have my the person that handles our social media and stuff. I just have him do my podcast on the side, because I already have that, established virtual assistant. But for you to go out and hire someone, I mean, it just depends on how much time you have and whether it's a good use of your time. Like, do you have other things
I'll,
that you could?
I will say I can't wait to see Josh and Jasmine with kids because I want to see how that affects your productivity because it's tough, bro.
That's the next frontier for us. That is, and so that
I'm gonna watch you for some advice when that happens because that's where I'm at. It's tough, man.
you.
It's not easy.
I'm gonna be calling you. Yeah, we're trying to prepare for that. That's why I want to knock out all these real estate transactions, be in a place where okay, we got enough dividend investing coming in. The rental properties are working fine, so that she can take um, the time off that she needs. Uh, but I needed her the most in the startup phase, right? Like the last, I would say 5 to 7 years. I mean, we've been together now for 10 years. Um, and we've been married for 4. So I think a lot of the setup and the foundation of what needed to be done is done. And, just as long as we got everything situated and automated, that's the time. Because we have talked about that, and we are getting older. And, she's always asking, like, hey, when's the right time? And I have to explain to her, like, look, I know you're not going to be available to do that. So we need to find somebody to handle the books and make sure the payments come in and, pay the sales tax and, the stuff that she handles. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be easy no matter what. But like, for example, I have a daughter, 2 years old. I have another one coming next month, so I'm trying to record as many podcasts as I can right now
yeah,
because I know no matter how productive you are,
mm,
you could be Superman.
right.
When that baby comes, that first couple months, it's going to be so hard for you to do anything,
Yeah,
and I find that you don't want to feel guilty.
right.
So
Right.
just get ready now, line things up so you can take like guilt-free time off and enjoy it because it's a special time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do, honestly, because I know myself, like I'm addicted to work. You know what I mean? And so, like, I don't want to be conflicted where I feel like I'm not getting stuff done or, stuff is falling off or getting behind on stuff. So it's just, the next couple of, months, 12 months, whatever. It's like we're going to knock out all the big stuff and try to be as ahead as we can so we can focus on, the baby.
All right, awesome. I got 2 questions that I end every episode with. So the first one, we kind of talked about this in the beginning.
Yeah.
Young Josh, right? So you told me a little bit about it from your perspective.
Yeah.
I know I've seen a report card that wasn't that favorable about you when you were a kid. So if I interviewed people around you when you were younger, like that barbershop guy, your teachers, or whoever was around you,
Yeah.
how would they describe young Josh Pather? Would they be like, "Yeah, I knew he was going to make it," or would they be like, "Yeah, how did that kid make it?"
No, they would be like, I knew he was going to make it. I would say that. A lot of people, have told me that along the way. Uh,
What do they see? Like, what was the hints that, all right, this kid's going to be somebody back then?
uh, they like another story I like to tell. So I did a presentation. Like I remember, I think I was in 11th or 12th grade, and we had to do. Remember, we had to do like PowerPoint presentations in class, a project,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I ended one presentation, like the last slide was like, all right, guys, thank you for, listening to my presentation. And if you guys want shoes, I got all the shoes off 50%. So I put that into my presentation, had,
Always selling.
yeah, the whole class started laughing. So it was things like that, I guess, that they saw, and me passing around the catalog, during class and disrupting class, and I would come like, I would even bring one, like I'd bring like the left shoe into class and pass the shoe around, like if I had something like they've never seen before, and I guess things like that they were picked up on. Um, yeah,
So,
I would say
so
that.
yeah, I mean, I guess that was going to be the answer from all the stories you shared in the beginning. What about we talked about a lot of stuff, man, but rich isn't just about money. So, what is a rich life to you at this point?
Yeah, at this point, it's about time. Like you said, being able to spend the time with the kids and not have to worry about money, not have to making the worry about like the bills are getting paid, and then also helping people. I'm really passionate about that. Um, the people, and that's one of the other reasons. I go in and meet with people. Like it's the people that we get. They're different, and it refills my soul that like I know that they're counting on me. They're looking up to me to help them, and I know that I can deliver for them because I know that, hey, everything I know is inside the training that you're going to get when you purchase a photo booth from us, and it's like refueling to me to be able to help people like that. And, they take my advice and they ask me questions and I can save them from a setback that I had personally. I would say that's a rich life. It is nice it's not all about money, but if you don't address the money situation, then it's going to be problems because, we're lucky to be in a, position to like Jasmine's dad just, retired and, her mom can't work. And so, we're able to assist them wherever we can. And, if we didn't address the money situation and pay the price and the sacrifices that we made, we wouldn't be able to do that, if we just had jobs and stuff like that. So even though it's not all about money, I think that it needs to be addressed at some point because if you can't help other people, then it's kind of selfish. You're just existing to like live and work just for yourself, and you're not able to help other people. I think we were put on this planet to help other people, and that ties into like our reason for being. And we all have more potential that we could tap into if we get over our subconscious, fears. For example, like Jasmine for a long time didn't post on her social media about her business because she was worried what people would say. And she just got over that fear like last year. And she's brought in like just $100,000 worth of business just from her circle of friends. And now we're able
It's
to,
a common thing. Like a lot of people feel that way. I'll admit, me too. I kept my social media just personal, and then like it's always kind of scary sharing what you're doing with like all the people your friends from school, your relatives. It's a bit scary for people, but I don't regret it. I don't think anything negative actually comes out of it. It's just a fear.
yeah, it's a fear that you have. And, I tell her all the time, like, look, like this business could change lives. It has changed lives. And, because you don't post, you can't help someone else that's struggling or that needs the help or that wants to find a business. Or maybe, because you didn't post, like someone invested into some MLM or some other scam and they got scammed. Like I had to get over it, she got over it. And, now we can reach more people. And I think a lot of the times if we get over our fears, like even her book, she just launched a book too. She was worried about she would be criticized and she's not good enough and she doesn't have enough experience. Like she ran the rental business, all 700 events, for years at a time. And she still feels like she's not qualified, but she got over that. She launched her book and her book was able to help a lot of people, with the basics, setting up a business and, more step by step, to running a rental business. And that's been, a great help and a great reinforcement for her to show her like, you could help people. You don't have to be at expert level to help people. If you're ahead of people, you can still help people who are, a few steps behind.
Josh, dude, this is awesome. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time. As usual, you over deliver. I remember even at the PBNY conference, you went overtime. You gave so much value. You came into the Zoom session afterwards, and you just kept giving people value and value and value. I don't know why you do that. But I'm grateful that you do, and I think that's why people really like you. So I hope people enjoyed this conversation. It was a monster of an episode, and I hope they check out all the stuff that you're doing. I don't know if there's anything you want to plug specifically right now, and I'll link to everything in the show notes.
Yeah. So if you guys are already established and you need help, like, taking your business to the next level, feel free to reach out. I do some personal consulting like that. If you have questions, text me 972-284-0506. That goes right to me. I'm chatting on there. I'll keep you updated and motivated. You'll be basically on my email list, but for text message. But if you have any questions, reach out. I'm down to help anybody. Follow me on social media at nextleveljp to be updated. And I wish you the best. Hopefully, you can learn from what I talked about. This is how I've created it. And you can do the same thing, no matter what background you're from.
And I probably will be on your podcast soon. So I hope everybody listening to this checks that one out as well and jumps over to check your podcast out, The Next Level. I'll link to that in the show notes as well.
Next Level Business Podcast. Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Awesome. All right, Josh, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it as always. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
And there you have it. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to leave a review. I may even give you a shout out and read yours out on the show. For any and all resources that we discussed, check out the show notes or head on over to boundtoberich.com. Until next time.